What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, LuckiMaree. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit the like button, comment later, and subscribe. Thank you to everybody who showed up today. Today, I just wanted to do this conversation, especially on Labor Day, just in regards to a lot of the political conversations that have been happening based around Candace Owens and Dr. Umar, just so we can get a clear understanding as to who has a better message for us. And of course, like any other time, as you see, it's titled The Narrative. I have a co-host here who will be doing commentary with me today throughout this. So without further ado, let's kind of just get started.
They know they can't fuck with you. I knew they couldn't fuck with you when I first seen you, which is one of the reasons why I took them under my wing. I'm like, oh, she got it.
Hey Lucki Charms, welcome back to another live stream. Be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to become a Lucki Charm and be notified.
What's up there, Emma?
What's good? What's good? How's everything? We back at it like a crack addict. You already know.
I know. I can't wait till we get our production back, but we'll fix it.
Yeah, we're gonna.
So this is a really good topic to have. Of course, the dynamic. I'm gonna do my best, okay? Because we do have male and female, and it's been a long time. What's her name? That was the first Black woman to run for president. Her name Shirley
Chisholm, I think.
Chisholm, yes. I know it's a high expectation, but people like to put her in the pro-Black category. When I looked at her messages, she said, yes, I'm a proud Black woman, but that doesn't mean I only speak for Black women. Like she was for Americans. So now in today's time, we see somebody who kind of mimics that, a Candace Owens, but more on the other, political agenda approach. But she's for just American. But now it's like more backlash because we have a message like Dr. Umar, Pan-Africanism should just be for us. We should just rally against the system, things like that. Not saying I disagree because I agree with both sides, but in today, I just wanted us to review just messages as to some debates that they've had that have blown up lately, and then we can decide, just off of opinion. What you think? All right, well, what you think of Candace Owens so far?
I think Candace is, of course, she's polarizing. A lot of people got their opinion about her, but I feel like when you get past the fact that, of course, she's dating somebody that's European, whatever, the woman makes a lot of sense. You know what I'm saying? If you take the emotional filter off of it, you don't have to agree with everything. You don't have to agree with how she lived on every level. But I feel like she says a lot of things that I don't hear a lot of Black men saying. You know what I'm saying? I feel like she's speaking to things that a lot of our people like to ignore. And we just at a point where we just got to stop getting caught up in it. Like I keep saying, we follow messengers instead of the message. You know what I'm saying? She's the only person I've seen in the Black community that even put an expose up against Black Lives Matter and show how they basically was making money off of the death of Black men, but using that money to advocate for the support of people who not even, who don't even have nothing to do with Black men's lifestyles at all. So it's like they was using Black men as a front. I didn't hear no Black men speak up against that. I seen a lot of Black men say support Black Lives Matter, but when they was exposed, I ain't hear nothing. So Candace was the only person that said something. So it's like, I'm the type of person that can eat the meat and spit out the bones. I don't have to like everything about you. I don't have to like every aspect about you. But if you telling something that's real and you speaking truth to power, that's really all that matters to me. But this is the code of personality. You know how that shit go.
Well, this is a good thing because what we're going to be reviewing with Candace first is her Don Lemon debate. Now, I like that you didn't see it thoroughly because we get to start from a very place.
Exactly.
So I'll just kind of start from her mentioning the Black Lives Matter, and then we can kind of go from there. Hold on. Let me just... Can you see this? You can see this?
Yeah, I can see it.
All right. So we have to get this with certain playback speed, of course, for copyright. But yeah, this was a recent debate that you can kind of just see the narratives. They've done it to us a few times, Illa, clip stuff, and then this is what it is.
Yeah, they take a little bit in piece, but only goofy people eat that up. And that's why these companies and these advertising people, as well as content creators, they know that the majority of people are not thinkers, they're followers, and they're easily misled. So people can fall for that clickbait type of stuff, but the true thinkers, they won't fall for that. But unfortunately, we're in the minority.
Yeah, but sometimes, clips can look bad. So I get why people have a message with her. So let's just see.
The press
There was no
does
insurrection around that. I mean, she eventually.
Well, now you're accusing him of the insurrection. He has nothing to do with.
No, I said, but there was no insurrection around that. I didn't mention.
You can say that or not, but you just said he's an election denier. Okay, well that would put Hillary Clinton in the exact same camp, and so it's very weird when there seems to be this sort of like Men in Black memory wipe where people pretend that suddenly Trump was the first person who questioned election results when that's been going on for a very long time in America and nobody cared about that.
Hear me out here. There's a difference between questioning an election, the results of an election, which happened with Al Gore and George Bush, than having almost every court in the land disagree with the assessment that the election was stolen. There's a difference between questioning an election than saying it was stolen. There's a difference between someone saying, I thought I should have won, and there were, I had all these wins that were.
Can you see this?
Yeah, I can see it. It's froze up a little bit.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Let me. Refresh.
Then someone saying, the election was stolen and that these people are heroes who actually desecrated the Capitol and beat up police officers, and a police officer ended up dying. That's a whole different thing. Those two are not equal. So
your old network even debunks the points that you just made. Obviously, the person that died that day was Ashley Babbitt. The only person who died on that day.
My old network does not debunk that.
They absolutely. I covered it on my show. Even
no,
CNN.
I work there. They do not.
Well, I have my computer. Do you want me to bring it up live?
So what his argument to her, because this is the thing, they've been calling her anti-Semitism and all this type of stuff, anti-Semitic, should I say. And her argument in this is that he thinks that she's wrong they're basically trying to blame her for all of Trump's perspectives. And so he's saying like, oh, well, do you know when they stormed the Capitol, a few officers were murdered and were killed and this and that and the other. And she's like, highlighting the fact that we care about police being killed and you're for police being killed. And she's like, well, just that same season with the Black Lives Matter, a police officer was killed during a riot. And I don't remember the media covering that on the same premise of it being, they're supporting killing. So, and that was under this administration. So he's saying, you're deflecting, let's stay on the topic. And this is pretty much where they're at.
CNN article where they debunked that Brian, who you're talking about, the police officer, died that day. He didn't.
I didn't say he died that day. I said
okay, correct. Let me finish this. You said he died because you're trying to make people believe it had something to do with what happened. He died of a stroke, a completely unrelated stroke days later. So that narrative that was quickly pushed out by CNN was then subsequently debunked. So the only person that died that day was Ashley Babbitt, and Ashley Babbitt was a Trump supporter. So only a Trump supporter died on that day. Regarding the insurrection narrative, there are questions that still have not been answered that seem implausible to me. I happened to be on that day in DC, 9 months pregnant, and it's just stunning to me that that whole summer DC burned and nobody cared, and then suddenly people are talking about an insurrection and nobody is asking the common sense question of why the FBI, while they can lock up grandmas for having walked into the Capitol, some of these charges are heinous, absolutely heinous. You see these people on camera just for simply walking in at the beckoning of security guards who allowed them in, were put into prison for a very long time. So I'll ask you the question: do you think it's a legitimate stance, or that it's legitimate that the FBI can't figure out who it was that dropped off pipe bombs the night before?
No, I don't think that any of what you said is very relevant, because the facts
speak for themselves.
Okay. No, I don't think that it's relevant. I think talking about the FBI is really deflecting the attention from what really happened. A friend of mine, Michael Fanone, was a police officer who fought that day, who had.
You shook your head.
Because, man, these dudes is annoying, man.
Well, this is the liberal, right? So I think, Don Lemon represents the liberals. And, she's pretty much yours. I don't really know too much about Don Lemon other than the salacious stuff, but he reminds me of like a white woman on Fox News, personally. I just never see him with a dominant approach to anything.
I mean, he's a passive, liberal, gay male. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with that. That's whatever floats your boat. But I just find it disturbing how Candace is always talking to a black man, trying to convince her of some stupid shit. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what's what level of articulation are these black men in the limelight? Like, what are they mind? I done seen her argue with a black man about trans having periods. Now I'm seeing her argue with Don Lemon about the FBI not doing their job is relevant. You know, I've seen her talking to Rage. You know what I'm saying? It's like these black men are embarrassing themselves. You know what I'm saying? It's a shame that a black woman who's with a white guy is more aware of reality than y'all. And one thing I like about Candace, and not just her, but just people who see the truth today, they're calling out the selective outrage of black people. We are selectively outraged at things, which means we are being controlled. Someone can press our button and say, get mad at this, and they can say, don't get mad at that. How can a so-called racist system tell me who's racist or not? That doesn't make any damn sense. That's like the police investigating the police. It's like we just turn our minds on when it's convenient and turn it off when it's convenient. And it's just really disturbing. And I think Candace, when she talks to these people, she realized like, yo, these people really be goofy as hell. Like they really don't see the bigger picture. They really under mind control. Like it's really deep and sad.
Yeah. I think it's just cognitive dissonance. Anytime you put any type of challenges to people or they get too much of information that challenges them, it's easier to dismiss it than to investigate and actually challenge your consciousness. Because I think most people are moving out of consciousness, and that's where truth can come in at. So if you're not really aware.
A heart attack, who had a head injury, who was beaten with flagpoles and beaten with sticks by people who were in that crowd. The officer who died of a stroke, shortly after. It's surprise. I think that it would be tough to say that the stress that he suffered from that did not have something to do with it. Ashley Babbitt broke into the Capitol. It's awful that anybody died. Police officers, you see the tape on camera, telling everyone to stand down as she tried to enter. She was not complying. As people say, when police officers or officials tell you to do something, one should comply. And when she tried to break into the Capitol and defy the officers' commands, they did what they had to do, and she ended up dying. It's awful that it happened, but to say that she died, and I assume insinuate that it was because of some nefarious actions by the officers, I just think that is, beyond the pale and does not actually fit a solid narrative of what actually happened.
Well, it's very dizzying. I'm actually dizzy right now because your entire perspective has been pro BLM, and your entire perspective on your network has been essentially that it was totally fine for the officers that were bludgeoned, the officers that were killed, the officers all throughout New York City in the BLM riots. You even had Yale graduates.
Can we keep the focus?
Please let me finish. I just allowed you to finish. I just think it's nice to allow me to finish since I'm a guest on your show.
It is, but I want you to.
But you had them throwing bombs, literally
on the insurrection and not on
Molotov
BLM.
cocktails in the very same summer that you're talking about the insurrection. Molotov cocktails were thrown into police cruisers during the BLM George Floyd riot.
So annoying. He kept interrupting her every time she made a point to say, "Oh, Candace, we're not talking about that."
But we're not talking about the same sensitivity toward police officers.
We're not talking about BLM. Can we?
But it's relevant because it was happening in the exact same city. Okay. And so suddenly, like I said, I'm just dizzy because I can't figure out whether or not you care about police officers or you don't care about them, because now you're sharing emotional stories and now you're cutting me off when I want to share one about a Molotov cocktail that was thrown into a police cruiser in New York by some college graduates, in the media platform that you were on cheered it on because this was about justice. But suddenly when it's patriots, you want to talk about the sad stories of the police officers. You're now saying that because you don't comply, you can get shot. That's fine if that's your perspective. And Ashley Babbitt wasn't complying, but then we should probably revisit the George Floyd riots.
Many Americans can be deemed as patriots in this country, even.
Okay, well, I don't know why you're.
This is when she loses a lot of Black people because they don't like when she bring up the George Floyd situation. What do you think?
That's tough. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got to go beyond the pale, because this is what people don't understand. Black people get killed by police all the time. And they get killed by their own people more. The questions people don't ask is why? It's like with the Trump thing. The wrong question wasn't about, it's like, why are y'all making a big deal about him now? It's like, that's my thing with people. If people are guilty, then arrest them or call them out for their issue when that information comes past your comes across your database at that moment. We don't react until the media says, "All right, it's time to be outraged." Like not to change the subject, like R. Kelly, Puffy, these men been doing what they doing. The information been out there. But when the media made a concerted effort to say, "Hey, you on the computer, I need you to be outraged right now," and people are outraged. There was a young man in Atlanta. I think his name was Kendrick Johnson. His body was wrapped up in a mat, found with all his internal organs taken out. I didn't hear nobody talking about that. It's like police always are going crazy. So why are we concerned now more than these other times? And Don Lemon shows you, he's proof that our people, even the ones that's in media, are under mind control. And they are told when to be outraged and when not to be. Because George Floyd is amongst many people that got killed. And it's other people that got killed. Statue. Yeah, they got a and I think it's in my hometown of Jersey. I think it's in Newark. So it's like there's no statue for Sean Bell. And not death is death. We're not applauding the death of anybody, because sometimes our people need flashcards. It's like no one's saying George Floyd deserved to die, but don't let somebody who in his life, when he was alive, he was not one of the best people in the community. That's just a fact. So if we're going to flip the country upside down, we shouldn't do it for this situation. It's like he deserved to be remembered. He deserved to get the justice he deserves, but he's not a martyr. You know what I'm saying? I don't even see statues of Malcolm X nowhere. It's like
exactly,
he's not a martyr. He's a victim of crime. He's a victim of being racially profiled. He's not a martyr, and they don't realize that
they don't even have one for Emmett Till, at least.
Yeah, it's a joke to the world. It's like, okay, y'all making him a martyr, a man that was arrested for doing, crazy things to his own community. Not saying he's disrespected, but Candace understands that they're playing chess. It's not about not giving him love. It's about they're triggering you as a people to go crazy over somebody who wasn't even one of the best examples of your community. And if you're gonna have that energy, have it all the time. Have it for Nipsey, have it for this one, have it for that one. Keep the same energy of speaking truth to power, not when someone tells you to do it. And I think that's what Candace is really speaking to. We're not saying people not wrong, but keep that same energy all the time.
You're cutting me off. I haven't cut you off. I'm just trying to get out my point.
I'm trying to tell you because we have very limited time. And the reason I'm cutting you off is because I want you to stick to the subject, because you're deflecting and you're talking about
I'm not deflecting. I'm not deflecting.
Let me make a...
I just want to thank people who are just getting in here. Go ahead and hit the like button for us. We are discussing with you guys if you want to. We're just comparing the messages lately of the people who proclaim to be leaders of Black America, right? So you have Candace, who represents pro-American. Then you have Dr. Umar, we're going to review after this, that represents pro-Black. So we're just kind of reviewing as to, in today's time, what's necessary for you, which message is more impactful.
Point across. And BLM has nothing to do with the insurrection. We're talking about the events that happened in Washington. And
I just want to know what the definition of an insurrection is, because when I was living in DC and the BLM was pulling down statues, they were marching on Washington, the media was fine with it. So it's confusing, because the Brett Kavanaugh hearings and the women were storming into the Capitol. They were lining in the hallways.
Dizzy now because you're
I'm really confused about when it's an insurrection and when it's not an insurrection, because the Brett Kavanaugh hearings definitely looked like the definition of an insurrection, when they were chasing down senators in hallways trying to stop them from voting. But for some reason, the media supported that because, like, #MeToo. Again, I'm just trying to get a consistent definition of when it's okay to storm the Capitol building and when it's not okay to storm the Capitol building because it's an insurrection.
But Candace, we're not talking about BLM. And we're not,
that's the problem. We're never talking about anything Democrats
I want to
do.
get back on the subject, because this is not helping anyone. This conversation is not helping anyone. So let's get back on the subject. BLM and what happened has nothing to do, and we can litigate that and we can talk about that. This is not a conversation about BLM. This is a conversation about what happened on January 26th, and this is it's not about Brett Kavanaugh. Okay.
Well, they stopped to vote, so I just think that might be relevant to your interruption.
So, do you believe the election was stolen? Because on July 21, you tweeted. This is July of 2021. You tweeted, "Quote: It has now been proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris cheated in the 2020 election. Do you still believe the election was stolen? Because even Trump's own Justice Department, the Supreme Court, courts all over the land said that there was actually no evidence to substantiate a stolen election in 2020. It was the
Yes,
most
I believe the election was stolen in 2020.
Me too.
You do believe that?
Yes.
Okay. Why do you believe that?
Because it's pretty obvious that COVID was used as a mechanism to fundamentally change the way that people vote. They were passing through absurd legislation, essentially saying that every single person would get a mail-in ballot, even if they hadn't requested one. And then there was actually footage of people dropping off multiple mail-in ballots when the counting stopped in the middle of the night. So yes, I believe that our election was stolen. We don't have to wax poetic about it. We're not going to agree on this issue. You're going to
I
give
agree.
the talking points that.
How dare this black woman say that on national TV?
How dare she? Like, people so focused on her being with a white man, but look at what she be saying. She be saying stuff that cats are scared to say amongst themselves. I remember I was in a barbershop in DC years ago, and something came up about something political, talking about Obama. So you know me, I'm gonna speak my mind. So I said something about, had a political view about him, and I swear you could hear a pin drop in there. Like, all the men just got quiet. And then the conversation got loud again because another man brought up what happened on Basketball Wives. So I'm sitting there like, y'all,
A man.
These are men. I'm in a barbershop. So y'all ain't got no opinion on no political matters, but y'all are in an uproar over a relationship on Basketball Wives. Like, this is a lot of the modern black brothers. It's like, it's a shame that a sister like that got to be out here checking these cats. You know what I'm saying? It's like, where's the men at? You know?
We've been saying that. We've been saying the men are not involved in politically when it comes to structure as much as they complain. They're just not. Unfortunately, they're not the leading. That's why I think it's interesting. Even with this election, they care about the black women vote. They don't give a fuck about y'all
At all. And not even the black men care about the black men vote. The black men that's speaking out, the Plies, the Uncle Luke, to Don Lemons, and all, they ain't thinking about black men. They're all compromised. All these people are compromised that's on these screens. They don't care about black people. They care enough about you to monetize off your pain, to monetize off your ignorance, to monetize off your double-mindedness. They don't care about helping people for real, to the point that we can't recognize who really help us because we think that everybody that help us got to be blackly black, super black, and that's just not the case. You know what I'm saying?
No,
I'm not going to give talking points. That's what I wanted to. I just want to get.
Yes, I still believe that.
Okay, great. Thank you for answering that. And that is where I want to keep this on the subject and not deflect to something else. And so, I don't work for CNN anymore. So, I don't associate me with that because I don't work for CNN anymore. One of the reasons that I brought up that tweet to discuss, 2020 election.
Remember he said that. Remember he said, don't associate me with CNN. I don't work for them.
Beyond is because, do you think it's fair to say, I think that you've had a political evolution over the last couple of years. Do you think it's fair to say, I think that you've become much more conservative in your thinking and in your stance and things that you say. Do you think it's fair to say that you've become more outspoken and more conservative on issues over the last couple of years?
I think I've thought more and about what it actually means to be a conservative. And I would say that I've probably become infinitely more committed to my Christian faith. And so that might read as more conservative over the years. I think that's fair.
You've been more committed to your Christian faith. How does that play into your thoughts about politics?
When we think about conservatism, we think about tradition, it's traditionalism. And when I'm thinking about which traditions I want to uphold, it's the Catholic faith. It's Christianity. And I think I've now been in politics for 8-9 years. When I started, I was young, I was single, I, was running around wearing a MAGA hat. And now I'm a married mother of 3. And a lot of the conversations that we are having are heavier. We're talking about the future of this country that my children are going to have to live in. When we talk about any of these ideologies, we're talking about what they're learning in school today versus what you and I were learning when we were in school. And that has been a radical transformation. So it means more to me. And I think a lot of people, when I was pregnant with my first child, said, motherhood will change you, like it will soften you. And I actually found that politically, motherhood actually hardened me.
How so?
because I realized that these conversations matter. These are not just talking points. This is not somebody talking in a news hit. This is going to have real world implications for my children.
Listen,
right? And giving you one example of that would be the dawn of the trans indoctrination that you and I did not go through in school. That to me is a very severe thing. I think it's demonic, quite literally demonic, as in
how dare she again?
How dare she? Talking to these niggas, man.
Worshiping Baphomet. It goes back a long time. And I'm going to use my platform.
You said worshiping what? I couldn't hear you. Sorry.
Baphomet.
Okay, got it. Well, here's the thing. I don't know about, I'm not sure I would call it an indoctrination. I do believe that it's legitimate to say that you have questions about it because it's a lot to take in. I wouldn't necessarily call it an indoctrination. And when I grew up, there were definitely trans people. And maybe there wasn't an awareness of it in the world or the country at large. But I remember trans people growing up. I remember people who were cross-dressers growing up.
She didn't say they never existed. Why do people do this? Like, that's not at all what she just said. You're putting stuff there to twist her words and paint another picture that supports your agenda. Why do we have to come into conversations with an agenda in the first place? It makes it unauthentic because now you're not even just acknowledging reality.
It's so insulting, man. It's pissing me off just listening to this motherfucker speak. It's like, first of all, bro, you from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. You ain't seen that many trans. That's a real urban black area. So, I mean, and just because you saw it doesn't mean. I've seen gang members growing up. I've seen drug addicts. I've seen alcoholics. I've seen violent people. Do that mean because I've seen that and I grew up with that my child should be indoctrinated and be taught how to gangbang and how to get high? It's like you could just tell these people have no respect for the audience. And that's what I be wanting people to realize. It's like, it's not about the people on the screen. It's about you watching. And you should know that these people are trained to talk to you in a way to keep you on a certain hamster wheel of thinking. And people that come to break you out of that, they trying to cancel these people like a Candace, like a Kevin, like a Charleston. It's mad people. That don't mean everything they say you take, you take. But some people were sent to wake you up in a certain area. Candace may not be the person to talk to for nutrition. She may not be the person to talk to for spirituality. But she has a point when it comes to black people politically in this country. Umar might have another point. It's like you just got to take the best of what these people have to offer and come to a greater conclusion and not nitpicking all the stuff that really don't matter. These people do not care about our people. They want to keep you dumb. They want to keep you dumb, deaf, and blind. Any black man that's trying to dismiss cutting off your genitalia to become another gender, he's not even aware of his own culture, his own history. So they're just black in name only or in color only. And let's not even get to the black stuff, but they try to relate to us just based on how they look. They have no idea of ancient culture, ancient principles. One thing about people of color, we always venerated the union, not just sexually, because that's the thing. These people think that it's just a preference of who I want to have sex with. They don't respect or honor the spiritual connection that a man and woman has. You take sex out of it, men and women still need each other. There's still a union that happens intrinsically without just the physical stuff. They think it's just a matter of, well, you're having sex with a man, I'm having sex with a woman. It's just sex. No, there's a divine connection between man and woman. We were made for each other. We were made to help and sharpen each other by nature. And that's why I hate this era, because they push design away as opposed to feeling and theory. You cannot put theory and feelings over what you was designed to do. I don't care how much you think something was designed to do something else. You could try to stab something with a spoon, but it's a spoon. You might eventually cut somebody with a spoon, but because it's not naturally made to do that, it'll take a lot of effort. It's dealing with what's naturally made for each other, which is man and woman. But anybody that's colored talking about trying to accept that, they don't even know who the fuck they are, let alone how they can help somebody else. But
I think it becomes, I look at it from a perspective of, so to be pro-American means what, right? What you would represent. It means upholding the policies. Also, being conservative is about the family structure. Don Lemon represents the other perspective in America that could be seen as pro-American, but it's more so on the aspect of the people who are different. So him being a homosexual man, married, and he's going to get into that, his perspectives are going to be for the people who believe like what I'm doing is not harmful to America. So there are children that grow up in these environments. So how do we make them feel included? Because these are also problematic areas when they're trying to go through life, and life is teaching them this is normal and this is what we should look at, and you're weird. Like that, you know what I'm saying? So he's saying these people should not be deemed as weird because they have different attractions. So as you can see, a lot of men, like you said, Ray J, a lot of men are starting to be more open-minded. I want to say Judge Matt, well, who's not a trans child, but just more open-minded to the differences other people feel. You know what I'm saying? So even when it comes to church, so now you have this idea with church where it's like, well, church is discriminatory, which is where he's leading to. What we're going to see, he's saying your viewpoints and what you believe is discrimination based on how we live our life, and it's more phobic. So I think those people he just represents that perspective because of how he lives his life. That's just what I think.
My girlfriend's brother was a transvestite growing up. So there were definitely people who were out there who were part of the trans community. And I remember the threats that Chris got from, my girlfriend's brother. I remember people on the street throwing things at him and threatening him. So I'm not sure it's an indoctrination. I think it's just maybe an awareness of things that happen in society. And that doesn't mean that the pendulum doesn't swing too far sometimes, but I'm not sure I would call it an indoctrination. That's all I have to say about that.
Well, when I was in school, I learned that it was a mental disorder. I know that's changed, but it was in the DSM-5 as a mental disorder. And I accept that there are mental disorders, and people that are suffering from mental disorders should never be treated by people harassing them or people yelling at them or calling them names. So I'm sorry that someone that you knew went through that. But when people had mental disorders, it wasn't it wasn't commonplace to try to teach them about and normalize the mental disorders in classrooms, because children are experimenting with ideas and children always want to be different. Yeah. And if you say to kids, like, obviously propaganda works. If you tell kids smoke cigarettes, they all start smoking cigarettes. We learned this. And then in my generation, we stomped out smoking cigarettes because of the reverse course on that and saying like, no, actually cancer kills. Well, they taught us in the classroom that cancer kills. And now the majority of people who were smoking like crazy in the 80s are not smoking anymore. So we know that psychological conditioning works, and that the majority of these 12-year-olds, 11-year-olds, 10-year-olds are not non-binary. They're just learning that as a way to be different, they can experiment with these things. And unfortunately, these have very evil results because kids are being put on drugs that are quite literally used on pedophiles.
Well, that's not necessarily so. But listen, let me just say that about
is a drug. I think there are a lot of things on pedophiles in prison that's being given to children.
Another trigger word, Candace. How dare you?
There's a lot to respond to that as far as the indoctrination. If it was an indoctrination, then I went to a Catholic school. So then I would be, a straight male married to a woman who attends church every single day if there was any sort of indoctrination that was happening. So apparently the indoctrination at the Catholic school did not work on me, because I ended up being the exact opposite of what they wanted. The other thing.
This is just that double talk. He didn't bring up, the indoctrination aspect of Catholicism would be the ritualistic beliefs. A man and a woman does not take indoctrination to feel that. Your body part is automatically compatible with her body part, and you can make a child on your own without any instruction. That's not indoctrination. That's someone reminding you of your natural designation. Now, if you're saying, hey, you have to go to church, you got to make the mass, you got to drink the holy water, all that, that's indoctrination. Having to come to the mass on Sunday or Saturday, that's indoctrination. But knowing you're a man and you're made for a woman, that's not indoctrination. That's why these people are fucking dangerous, because they're trying to act like natural phenomenon is also indoctrination. Like, nah, that's nature, bro. We were made this way. And if we get far removed from natural conclusion, we're in a dark, dangerous place, because then you can be anything. And they don't realize how this movement is so demonic, because they're bringing entities through these people, because now they're not just trans and this now you got a sub community of I'm a pony, I'm a werewolf, I'm a this, I'm a that. Then next thing you know, they're gonna be the devil and they're gonna be a demon. These people are sick, and they're trying to take their private sick proclivities and make it mainstream and make natural phenomenon draconian or something that's non-progressive. And it's a shame that a Black woman got to be telling this to Black educated brothers. Very disheartening.
I think when you say they don't realize it, I think they do realize it, but possibly since we were talking, maybe they don't. I think it's more so who they work for. I think certain people don't speak on certain things based on their jobs, their careers, and things like this. So it's kind of very risky to take such an opinion unless you are understand I'm about to take an integral approach to this and speak on what I know to be the truth. And like she's saying, based on wherever her faith led her to be, which is Christianity, which is crazy because a lot of liberals are Christians. So now it just makes it, I would love for her to go up against like.
They're Christian until they're held to task. You notice that they're Christian until you say, you got to live a certain way. Well, my God, my church, I don't. It's like it's no structure. There's no conclusiveness. It's religion based on social construct. Like I get to socialize, teach a Christian. It's no regimen. It's no I have to live a way. It's just I believe this, and some days I do, and some days I don't. It's really a bunch of BS.
Yeah, selective.
Exactly.
Is that the whole idea that they're giving young children drugs at an age, and the children are getting to decide at an age that they need these medical drugs for transitioning, that is absolutely not true.
What do you mean that's not true? You can get,
and also
you can get puberty blockers as a child. I had a whole person on my show who I spoke to that transition
of the family, and the family. You can get puberty blockers as a child, but the parents have to decide that. That's not some
so they can get
child
puberty blockers.
Who's decide? The parent and the child gets to decide that. So
okay, but that they should puberty blockers fundamentally alter them for life.
Disorder. You understand that it has not been, it's been deemed not to be a mental disorder, and then you're saying that that you're. In your rhetoric, you're saying that it's a mental disorder.
It is a mental disorder. That's what I learned in school.
It's not a mental disorder. Okay,
if you think that you're a boy and you're actually a girl, you are suffering from a mental disorder, obviously, because you can't actually change your sex, obviously.
I know plenty of children now. I know plenty.
You can play dress up, but you can't change your sex. I know plenty
of young people
and basic shit,
who are trans, right? And they are not pretending. And it is not a mental disorder.
Oh, it is pretending, because you will literally never be able, if you are a little boy, to grow up and have a baby, because you're not a little girl.
I would hope that your child would not grow up, or your children would not grow up, and then thinking that they're trans, and then their parents telling them the exact opposite.
I would tell them that they have a mental disorder, and we're going to get them help.
I want to play this because.
Oh my God!
How did we get here? How do we get from Malcolm X by the curtains with the AK to this shit? Like, how did we get here in like 50 years, yo? This is crazy, yo. Like, this is, man, wow. Where you got to argue with a Black man who's supposed to be the face of masculinity for the world. You have to convince him that a boy can't be a girl. This is crazy, yo. This is some dark times, man.
To continue this conversation, when I say that, I think that your views have changed over time. This is a clip from one of your shows. It was just last week as we continue this conversation. It's about flat Earth and round Earth and conspiracies. Let's play this.
Sure. If there's a bunch of people that believe something, I now want to know what it is that they believe. And of course, he pushed me on this, and he was talking about the Earth curvature and science. And I said to him, listen, I'm not a flat earther. I'm not a round earther. Actually, what I am is I am somebody who has left the cult of science. I have left the mega church of science, because what I have now realized is that science, what it is actually, if you think about it, is a pagan faith.
Okay. Candace.
Yeah.
Do you actually believe this stuff, or are you saying it because you want to generate outrage and you want more attention and you want people to sort of click on your show? Do you actually believe that? I mean, science is science. What do you mean the cult of science? What do you believe? You're not a flat earther or a round earther? I mean, sometimes I think you're a very bright and very intelligent woman. And I said, is she just playing in our faces? Like, what's that all about?
He's so passive aggressive and sassy.
He's so stupid because now you're defending science, but isn't science? Isn't that a product of scientific phenomenon? Is knowing that you have a XY chromosome and she doesn't. Now science matters. You see how these people within a conversation can move the goalposts around to prove something?
My thing is, I disagree with her on. I agree with her premise when she explains. But the thing when you say it's a pagan faith and you're a Catholic, that's
that's why you got to go as far as you can go. With everything. You can't go everywhere with it, because if you into the Catholic Christian thing, that's a whole.
That's a whole conversation.
You know what I'm saying? It's like they're very complicit in what's going on socially and politically, whether you know it or not. So it's like
she's probably speaking more so. She tries her best to follow certain principles, which is not just synonymous just with that faith. You get what I'm saying? Those are principles of life, period. You'll find them in different faiths.
That's why people just deal with just the truth, because when you start, people don't understand religion is really an extension of politics. So when you say I'm Catholic, you're telling people that historically your frame of mind comes from Europe. That's just a fact. You know what I'm saying? They're not looking at it. People think that's religious, thinking that, oh, I follow Allah, or I follow Jesus, I follow this. It's politics. It's about what law you go under. You know what I'm saying? So it's all really one. So when you call it a different name, there's political ramification there. So I don't think she realized, like, by you saying I'm Catholic and all that, the Catholics kind of kicked off a lot of shit that we're dealing with today.
On this topic, and this is what I said, Don Lemon, if he was more focused on what she's here to do, debate on, we both see a problem, this is my perspective, this is yours, which she welcomes, he would have had a good conversation where he would have caught her on that. But isn't this the thing? You know what I'm saying? If he had knowledge of that. He's so emotional based. He's not even really debating her on what he knows to be true. He's just trying to debunk what she's saying with no information. So this is why when she said this, she about to eat you up on this point, because you're not even understanding Scientology is what she's really talking about. She's talking about how they provoke science in the media, and you're not even going to catch her up when she just called it pagan. She doesn't do paganism, but she's in the faith. So this is showing me right here, okay, he's not even on his P's and Q's. You don't know what you're doing.
You on some P's.
First, let me ask you, did you watch the full episode, or did your producers pull a clip out of context?
No, I did not watch the full episode, but I'm asking.
So let me put it into
context.
Yeah, no, sure. I'm happy to put it into context, because that's the beauty of the media. It's just always a clip, and then people go, oh, what's going on here? So that was an episode we were talking about birth control. I was sharing, I'm very passionately against the birth control because of all the women who in my life are suffering side effects, who can't get pregnant, and are realizing that inserting copper IUDs into your body over time can have an impact. And women were sharing their stories online about how the doctor told them it was safe and effective, and it obviously wasn't safe and effective long term, because people just simply accept what the experts tell them without thinking. We saw this during COVID, so I'm very comfortable saying this. People, if I had been saying this years ago, people would have been like, she's crazy, but this is what we mean when we say science. And by the way, these ideas, if you want someone even more brilliant than me who wrote about this, C.S. Lewis would be a great starting place. He termed this scientism, where the people that are in control.
Thank you guys for tapping in with us in this conversation. We definitely appreciate you guys. Super chat, stop the live, and also hit the like button, please. Thank you.
Of science create a faith. They create a faith by saying, well, the experts say 6 feet social distancing works. And so everyone starts walking around with 6 feet social distance between them until Fauci comes around, like he did recently, and say, we kind of made that up. We were just guessing. The experts say the COVID vaccine, if you get it, you will not transmit or be able to get COVID.
Exactly,
and then they go, actually, that wasn't true. So people, and without knowing that, subjected their bodies and said, okay, I'm going to get this vaccine. Then they say the science has changed. Well, if the science changes and you've already impacted your body, as many women, I did not get the COVID vaccine, and I'm not meaning to judge people who did, but a lot of my female friends were having menstruation issues, as we talked about on the show. A lot of my female friends had miscarriages, as we talked about on the show, simply because they trusted the experts, not because they actually knew
You don't know that
the
for sure
science was
you don't know for
accurate.
sure that they had a miscarriage because of the vaccine. That's
They had first and foremost, they've already admitted that the vaccine, like we're now past COVID era scientism. So they've admitted that the 6 feet social distancing was fraudulent science. They admitted that the masking was
you
fraudulent
realize you're looking
science.
at something in hindsight. Hindsight is 2020 and your Monday morning.
Well, that's the point. And until you get hindsight, it's just a faith. And that is what I am talking about on my show. It is just a faith. People placed faith. It was not a science. It was a faith. Okay.
You said a
real
phase
science,
or faith.
So that's a faith. You just
You heard what she said. Stop doing it.
believe it. You can't see it. You trust the person. You trust this person who is a science, who's a doctor, who you've enacted as the Lord in your life, and you shouldn't do that. Common sense to me when I was a kid. Common sense to me when I was a kid, like when people were pushing birth control pills on me when I turned like 15, every time I went to the doctor, women who are watching this will relate. They're suddenly like, birth control, you got a pimple, birth control. So I didn't need to trust the science or the experts I just said to myself, yeah, probably not a good idea to microdose yourself with hormones every single day.
What does that have to do with a worldwide pandemic and epidemic where people were?
I'm answering the clip that you just showed. I'm putting this into context.
I know, but you're going.
Yeah.
I want to.
But because that's also what I talked about on my show. This is the beauty of actually watching a full episode and not using a clip. And so I said, now for me, it's going to require a little bit more than a faith, right? Because I'm realizing scientism just gets people to do things based on emotion without actually, and just going, trust the experts, trust the experts. I'm not trusting the experts on anything anymore, okay? I'm going to actually take a look at things and actually try to discern something by myself, because the experts have lies.
But isn't that based on emotion?
People's lives are ruined. People got myocarditis.
That's you paused it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's the time we in. See, he's such a fool. You talking about there's no evidence of what she's talking about. You know what else ain't no evidence for? That a boy born with a penis can be a girl. There's no evidence for that shit either. But we could go with that. It's like, I'm just so sick of these people, because at this point, no one's hiding their colors for anybody. All the demonic people are saying demonic things. All the righteous people are saying righteous things. The choice is yours. What are you going to listen to? Whom this day do you serve? Like, people it's about discernment. It's okay. You got the data, you got the facts, you got fact checkers. They got all this information out here, but it's going to come down to do you have divine discernment to just see the BS from the reality? And I just realized that in America, we have such a dependency on others for our way we think. We go to school, we have to take it from our teacher. We got to take it from our mothers, we got to take it from our parents, we got to take it from our friends, we got to take it from the media. We're not taught to go within to figure out nothing. Everything is without. And now that you have generations of people built on that dependency, like I was watching a clip when the lady, I think they was in somewhere, and it was an older lady, they were talking about the COVID shot. She said, I'm not reading no books. I'm not asking no questions. I'm not doing my research. I'm just sticking my arm out. And they think that's like the right, they think she thought she said something. But it's like, in America, we are trained to depend mentally on everything but ourselves. And it's just really, really crazy, yo. No discernment at all.
What she said, I would say, is a trigger, because she said, I would just advise, or pretty much her perspective is, take what they tell you, do your research on it before you actually just inject yourself with stuff or do stuff. The part she lost us is, do your research. Because, girl, we don't want to do that. Let's just talk as a whole. We're not about to do that shit. You better put it in the title, and you better make it seem like something.
That's a fact.
Yes, kids died from heart attacks, and they admitted after the fact that they knew that could be a risk. And first, they gaslit the moms who were saying it happened.
And that is not true. But
what do you mean it's not true? There was a kid who won a lawsuit for myocarditis. He quite literally, if you can look this up on Yahoo News, myocarditis, he actually won. The government had to pay him, I believe it was in the Philippines, who had to actually pay him. And after that point, after that lawsuit, they started putting the warning on the vaccines that it can cause myocarditis. So it doesn't help. It doesn't help. If you're saying that you're no longer a part of the establishment, you're doing your podcast, at least acknowledge the things that even they have acknowledged now, that it causes myocarditis, that it can impact menstruation. Anything that is impacting your menstruation. I never
said I wasn't part of the establishment, by the way. I said I did not work for CNN, but go on.
Okay. So okay. I'm glad you're admitting you're part of the
Told on yourself.
establishment.
No, I mean, I don't believe that I'm part of an establishment, any sort of establishment. You would have to.
You just told on
That was
yourself.
The premise
wonderful.
is that I belong to some part of an establishment. I do not. But I also say the things that you're saying are also that's based on emotion, and you're comparing a woman who can volunteer to take a birth control pill as opposed to a worldwide pandemic where people are dying. And science does evolve, just like the world evolves, and we learn more about things. Just as the science around cancer and HIV, that's all evolving and it's improving. So over time, science evolves, it improves. So I don't understand the obsession with people who say, oh, I didn't do this, and they feel really good about possibly even harming their fellow man by not wanting to do things that's supposed to help the greater good. To me, that is the most un-American and most unpatriotic thing that a person can do.
Yeah, well, actually, the most un-American thing would be Marxism, and that's a Marxist philosophy that you do things for the greater good, and it's fundamentally absurd. You should make sure that what you are doing is
just do things for yourself.
It's not selfish. It's not selfish. It's actually the opposite to say that you should inject something into your body simply because this person says so. And by the way, the science is evolving.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing that you don't understand. That people don't understand.
To offer their bodily autonomy in order to maintain their job.
But see, I think
selfish.
that's false, Candace.
It is.
No, because there was
which
no
part is false?
mandate. You did not have to order people. If you did not want to take the vaccine, you did not have to take it.
That's not
If
true.
you don't want to take a vaccine, and many people lost their jobs. OSHA tried to mandate it, and then they had to fight that all the way up into.
You can voluntarily not do it.
So it's a threat. We're not mandating it, but just so you know, you're going to lose your entire life and not be able to feed your family.
You don't have to lose your entire life.
I mean that.
I didn't know Don Lemon was this crazy. This is why I said he would have been a good person to put on the stage for that national journalist.
What you mean you ain't know he's crazy? Anybody that's willing to do the thing he do, you got to be crazy to allow somebody to penetrate you as a man. There's some craziness there. That's not normal.
I don't want to discriminate against that community or people who do that.
I'm not discriminating, but as a man, I'm not talking about a woman. As a man, to allow that over and over, you're a little off.
What about the women that allow it?
I think women have a natural. I think it gets crazy with women when they say I'm a guy, but I think women are just naturally comfortable sexually around each other. I just think it's easier for them to say I'm gonna be with a girl today, and I think it's easier. I'm not saying it's right.
I'm only speaking on sodomy because that's the only thing that we talking about. So. I don't know. I just think if we have that, let's say we say that perspective with men, and you got to be crazy to take that, then I would think the opinion is the same for women because either way it's an exit, it's for shit. So
you're right.
And for stimulation.
You're right, but you're still being touched by a man. Now he may be touching you inappropriately, but you're designed to be touched by a man. Can we just agree? Can we just agree the booty hole shouldn't be? Yeah, I think yeah, I agree with that. It's an exit, not an entrance.
If I did
not take a vaccine, ridiculous. I would not be allowed to go to school.
Okay.
So because why? I was putting other people's lives in.
Super chat stopped the live. Thank you so much for the tip jar. He says, Illa and Lucki, this is what we need to see. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. And people, please like the video. Thank you guys for being here. And thank you for the support.
Hate on a nigga. I don't understand why you hate on me, nigga. We don't understand. Show love, nigga. It don't show nothing. It don't cost nothing to show a nigga love. All we doing is getting money. Show a nigga some love, nigga. Wabbly dabbly. Niggas out here don't love me, nigga.
Talk that shit.
And then I can't wait to get to Dr. Umar.
Oh yeah.
Danger. So
this is going to shock you, Don. My kids are not vaxxed.
You can decide to do a whole lot of things.
And that's wrong.
But
by
that's
the
not a
way.
mandate.
That's wrong. That's why I
for
moved to
you.
a state where there's medical freedom. And guess what? You can compare statistics in the states where they have the most unvaccinated children with states like California where they couldn't be more vaxxed. And so your entire philosophy that somehow the unvaxxed kids are harming the kids that are vaccinated is nonsensical, by the way.
Unvaxxed
How can you
people
say,
in
in order for
general
my vaccine to work, you
died.
have to get a vaccine? What kind of science is that?
Places
If your
where
vaccine is
people were
working, then you don't have to
unvaccinated-
worry about unvaxxed kids. You know, people are waking
Places
up to
where
this.
people were vaccinated had higher rates of death from COVID than other places.
That is simply untrue.
Okay.
That is simply made up statistics to
not made up.
justify the
It's
fact that they
absolutely
harmed a
true.
lot of people with not false science or evolving science, lies. They straight up told people that if they got the vaccine, they were not going to get or transmit COVID. They lied, okay? They knew it was a lie because it required censorship to maintain the lie.
Candace,
They were
I
censoring
visited
independent voices who were
hospital
saying,
wards with people filled with people who did not take the vaccine and on their deathbeds. You know what they said to me? I wish that I had not listened to the people, to the QAnon and to the non-vaxxers and to those people. I wish I hadn't done it because maybe I wouldn't be in this hospital dying.
oh, that's so shocking that you were able to talk to people on their deathbeds because people were not even able to see their loved ones. The hospitals were so locked down. So how were you able to speak to so many people on their deathbeds in hospitals in New York City?
No, this was not in New York City, as a matter of fact. And it was
Where
after,
were you?
It was after the lockdown. It was at the hospital where I grew up in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And
yeah,
if
it's quite shocking because they were not allowing in hospitals for people to even see their loved ones. And yet you were able to talk to people on their dying bed.
Forget that there were
that was their death wish, to talk to Don Lemon about the vaccine. It seems like one of those stories when they
you're
say,
trying to explain
like,
to me where I was.
It just seems like one of those fairy tale stories where they say, like, on her deathbed, she said, you know, I just don't really buy that. I don't really buy this, that you spoke to tons of people on their deathbeds.
Okay,
I just,
this was after.
I'm going to rate that false.
Okay, no, you're not going to rate it false because all you have to do is go back.
Was it their last words?
No, their last words.
That was all that was cap. All that was propaganda cap. Some shit they pulled off on TV. Like anybody that falls for these little shit they show on TV, like they be showing like those crisis actors. You'll see a person who's a victim of like crisis events. I don't care about seeing somebody with some face mask on. She might have had diabetes or something. Because the thing with COVID is most people who died when COVID became a mandate, anybody who died with COVID, they called it a COVID death. So you could have gotten a car accident, you could have got shot. If you had COVID at the time of your death, they called it a COVID death. So most people I know who died from COVID had super complications with health already. A lot of them was overweight, and a lot of them had like diabetic or breathing issues. I don't know nobody who just died from that shit. And when they showed the numbers, it was like 2% of people in like the world. Like the numbers were just crazy. But he's here to push he's here to push the agenda. Data doesn't matter. And the people that don't care gonna eat that shit up.
But when he said earlier, I'm not associated with CNN and don't associate me. We can't.
But you brought up with the evidence you brought up with your CNN footage.
Yeah, exactly.
Stop it, bro.
Words were not to me, but some of their last words were to me because some of them died after I left the hospital. It was not when we had the lockdown. This was shortly after things started to open back up. We could actually travel on planes, when we could leave our houses, and there were still people in COVID wards. And I interviewed them when I worked for CNN, and they said, I wish that I had taken the vaccine because maybe I would not be dying. And their loved ones afterwards,
they
said that on their deathbed. So what you're saying, I think, is completely.
Well, I just want to share a story too. I too was allowed as a journalist into hospital wards, and people said to me on their deathbeds, I wish that I hadn't taken the vaccine because it didn't work and I'm still dying on this deathbed. So I had the same thing happen to me.
If it didn't work and they're still dying, then
I got the vaccine and yet somehow I'm still on my deathbed. So clearly it didn't work. So that was that. I don't know. That's what they shared with me on their deathbed.
Okay, so if they wouldn't,
I was allowed into a hospital
that doesn't
ward
make
here in
sense
Tennessee.
though, because how do they know if they didn't? If they didn't get the vaccine, what difference?
They did get it, and they were still put on ventilators. So the vaccine didn't work. And so I'm a journalist. They allowed me into the hospital wards, and that's what they told me. And I was working.
How were you able to go in the hospital wards when we were on lockdown? They got to talk. I'm just being facetious here.
I know.
It goes both ways. Okay. So this is a quote from you, right? After you said that you were leaving the cult of science. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm going to play clips. I know that you want people to watch the full episode.
No, I'm fine. I'm happy to put them in context.
Clips. And you said, quote, no matter what, if there is a bunch of people who believe something, I now want to know what it is. So in the spirit of all of that, and if we can do it quickly here, right? Because I know that you're very busy and you have things to do. So I want to know, and you can tell me yes or no if you agree or disagree, because some of these things are deemed.
I see the chat. No. Y'all so silly. Yeah, sarcasm. I love Candace. Shout out to y'all. Hit the like button, y'all. Thank y'all for tapping in.
This conspiracy theories like flat Earth or round Earth. I know that you said maybe that was taken out of context. So I'm going to say if you agree or disagree. These are not clips. These are just quotes. The 1969 moon landing was staged in Arizona.
I 100%, after reading this book, Chaos, believe that the moon landing was a complete and utter ridiculous hoax on the American people. I used to not believe. I actually always had an instinct about that.
I want to ask y'all, do y'all believe in the moon landing, though? Do y'all believe that at a time where there were no iPhones or cell phones like we have now, that they can actually call and talk to somebody on the moon? Y'all believe that? I just wanted to know how many people actually believe that. Just curiosity.
One, and then I read a lot into it, and I was just like, okay, this is actually kind of ridiculous. It's like the Easter Bunny for adults, you know?
Okay.
Yep.
All right. The U.S. government was behind 9/11.
No, I don't believe the U.S. government was behind 9/11.
You don't. You think it was just as reported?
Not as reported. Obviously not as reported. I did a whole episode on that. People should watch it.
Okay.
There's tons of things that we weren't told about it.
It's still up online. I would think, okay, go ahead. People can watch it. All right.
Mm-hmm.
The mass shootings that have been faked to promote gun control laws.
No, I don't believe that.
You don't believe that. Okay.
Mm-mm.
Barack Obama was not born in America.
I don't even know where that one comes from. I don't know anything about that conspiracy theory.
No, I'm just asking you. Well,
yeah.
You don't know where it comes from. I mean, Donald Trump.
I literally don't know where it comes from. I mean, I was quite young, like as in like I was in 2008. I hadn't even voted at that time, so I didn't follow. I guess the best way to say is I was in college.
Do you think it matters if a person is from America to be the president of America? You muted.
You mean like born here or like was there?
Yeah, because that was the conversation. Like, is Obama really from America and this, that, and the other? Would you say you should be from America to be the president of America? Or do you think if they start opening that idea up, it could be problematic? Because
I think it's problematic because people don't have, because when you bring in people that's far, it's like if you got a company, you've been working for a job for 15 years, and you already got a rapport with the person that hired you. Y'all done been through ups and downs, things like that. Then they bring in a new management. Y'all not gonna have that same rapport. They're not gonna have that same connection with you because they just doing their job. So they don't understand the culture that was created in this company before they got here. All they know is I gotta stick to this regimen and whatever. So I think it is dangerous for somebody else because they don't have a connection to the people. They don't understand certain nuanced things of the culture. You know, it's like that cool teacher who get that rah-rah mother is on drugs. So they send him to her class because he can connect to him because he understands what goes on outside the classroom. You know, so you need people, when it comes to dealing with American culture, we need people who understand the nuance of living over here, not just politics and the legislation and all that. Like it's more that you're dealing with people. You know what I'm saying?
I didn't follow the Barack Obama Kenya thing that went on.
I mean, that was beyond 2008. The birtherism thing with Donald Trump.
I was not at all engaged in politics. I was in college when he won, and I
okay.
Do I seem like a dishonest person? Would I not tell you if I followed it and believed it?
If you didn't follow it and you don't know, but I'm surprised that you, as a journalist and someone who is so opinionated, that you haven't done research on that. But if you haven't,
so fucking rude. Like,
well, you're inspiring me too. I will.
Okay. The CIA killed JFK.
Yes, I believe that.
You do. Why is that?
Yes. Because there would be no other reason for them to lock down the files for as long as they did, and then come up with a stupid Russia did it thing that long. The only time you would lock down files like that regarding a sitting president being shot. And by the way, if they knew Russia had done it, we would have gone to full-blown war because they would have killed the sitting president.
And real quick, what people don't remember, John F. Kennedy was the only president to speak about secret societies from the White House. People look up that footage. He said America He said there's no room for secret societies in the United States government, and he died. So all those people talking about conspiracy theories, that the term conspiracy theory was coined by the government to deter people from questioning the government, because the president of the United States said that there's secret societies and that there's no space for that in America, and he wanted to disband the CIA because they are the minions of the secret society. So all those people talking about the Illuminati and all this, the Masons and all, that's fake. It's not fake. John F. Kennedy said it was something that's in this country that needs to leave, and they blew his head off shortly after. So put that in your pipe and smoke.
Well, let's see if she puts this in his pipe.
And also because, and this is a very interesting fact that I learned in this book, Chaos, that people should read and actually become very informed about this. The individual that shot the individual who shot JFK, his name was Jacob Rubenstein, was subsequently MK Ultra'd. That was a government program in which they had realized that if you give people a cocktail of drugs, you could essentially not brainwash them, but you could you could make them crazy instantly. They could give you schizophrenia instantly. So the doctor that was behind that, Dr. Leslie, this is all a fact, by the way. This is not like these are declassified. The guy, the reporter who worked on this for 22 years of his life working on this was Tom O'Neill. So I know you're laughing, but I'm encouraging you to actually read it. It could just be something you didn't know. The book is called Chaos, the CIA, the 1960s, and MK Ultra. And they MK Ultra'd, admittedly, in the documents, they MK Ultra'd Jacob Rubenstein, which is why the judge, on the day that he appeared, the second day that he appeared, said, what happened to him? I was speaking to him totally fine yesterday, and now you're telling me that he's legally insane.
But what I want you to know is, and I think people, the book is called Chaos, as you said, people read it. Some of the things that you're mentioning and the names that you're mentioning have been written about before. And just as maybe you weren't aware of the birth certificate, the other things, perhaps you weren't aware of the investigations that have taken place before that.
You just can't shoot a president in broad daylight, and then we pretend we don't know who did it. That's just that. You have to be a conspiracy theorist to believe our government had nothing to do with the shooting of JFK. That's my viewpoint. It's too ridiculous.
Okay, I'll disagree with that because I just don't. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. Do you take offense when people call you a conspiracy theorist?
Do you think what?
Do you take offense when people call you a conspiracy?
No, because I've studied the history of psychology in this country, and I know that that term was actually entered into the American mindset after the shooting of JFK. They started using the term conspiracy theory to make people get off of their tail or not ask questions by making it seem like it's crazy to want to know who shot a sitting president in broad daylight. So on my show, I cover a lot about the history of psychology and propaganda. Edward Bernays, who's considered the father of propaganda in the United States. And you will learn that terms like that are meant to make you think that there's nothing here. You're a conspiracy theorist. No, it's common sense that the government would not hide who shot a sitting president unless it was done by the government. I think that's pretty obvious.
Yeah, and quite often the answer is the most obvious. Sometimes things are just conspiracy theories. Okay, so listen, there was, to be honest with you,
ain't no saving Don Lemon. He is gone.
But he speaks for so many people. He speaks for so many people in this, not just in the world, but in the space of opinion. You know what I'm saying? Because at this point, everybody's a content creator. I don't care if it's sports. Like everybody's doing content. And so it's like it's so many distant. He just, like I was talking to you earlier, and this is something I don't like that people do. Like Nas said, people feel what they don't understand, hate what they can't conquer. But ultimately, people minimize what they don't understand, and they try to diminish it, and they try to act like, oh, since I don't understand it, so since I don't find relevance in it, and since I know most people are not going to go outside of their comfort zone, we're just going to dismiss what you've spoken about. Like she gave him a book. He gave, like, that's why people be mad at me when I give books. Like when you have an intelligent dialogue with people, you're going to have resources. You're going to give sources of where you get your information from. And you see how he dismissed that? That mentality has been a trickle-down effect throughout American culture, where people shake their finger at when you provide sources for your information, because they're not going to read it. It's not because what you have is not real. They're not going to read it because they're cowards. They're intellectual cowards, and they're afraid to go against the grain because they want to fit in. Everybody's still at the lunch table in high school. No one wants to grow the fuck up.
I think in that aspect, I didn't know it was that difficult for people to just think on their own. Like there's some sensory to every single thing that you say that goes against what you know to be reality. So now it's just kind of like we have to walk on eggshell for people who just simply can't question anything that they push in front of you that is considered propaganda, because you'll be shamed, especially if you're on certain platforms. And then I understand, because certain things like this, you can't just stream and have conversations, because there's a certain level of censoring we have to follow, because these are the secret society guidelines.
Bothered me, but I want the explanation in the context, as you say.
Do you have any clips of anything that like you agreed with, or we're just gonna like pretend this is a friendly interview as you can like, okay. Just wondering, is there even one clip of something that you agree with?
I don't know, maybe I agree with the next clip, but anyway, roll the next clip, please.
Bring shame back. Bring back saying you are disgusting, you are wrong, you are a hoe, you are a pervert. Call things for what they are. And that is another way that they've psychologically tried to transform speech in America by saying like, oh, okay, you have free speech, but if you say that word, like if you say like, oh, that's whack or that's gay, then that would make you a homophobe. You don't want to be a homophobe, do you? It's no, we shouldn't do that. And it's even been the disappearance of words that actually had real meanings, like growing up, majoring in English, reading old English novels and understanding that a word like is a real word. It means a bundle of sticks.
Okay, so listen, I believe in free speech, right? But I also believe that free speech comes with consequences.
Off at that F word. I just want to let you. He like, who this bitch thinks she is, saying we shouldn't get rid of words. Okay.
Consequences. So the word you said was right. Is that exactly the word? So what did you mean by that? You think it's okay to say the word, to call people to their face?
No, actually, I said words have meaning. And so when you start allowing the perverts to dictate speech, then words just have to go away. And as I said in that clip, when I was growing up and I was reading English novels, when people say you're walking through the woods to get a it meant a bundle of sticks. And then they said you can no longer say this word that has a real meaning, right? A bundle of sticks, because some pervert took that and threw it as an epithet towards gay people. I think that's actually, that's a wrong way of thinking, because then what you're doing is you're allowing perverts to dictate society. So I don't like the death of the English language because people are getting offended. So that's like, I could pick any word. I could say, plant. And from now on, every time I see a gay guy, I'm gonna be like, he's a total plant. And then eventually they say you can't say plant anymore. It's like, no, this is a real word that has meaning. Attack the person who's perverting the word, but you don't suddenly disappear a word and you say you can no longer say it, or you can no longer read these Virginia Woolf novels because the word has been perverted. I think that's a backwards way of thinking.
Read Virginia Woolf novels, and the only people I know who are trying to ban books, Virginia Woolf and other books that even say the N-word. I mean, it's conservatives. That's who's trying to do it. I don't think that you should be banning books. But I do know, Candace, that language evolves over time. And when people say that word to me, they're not calling me a cigarette. They're not calling me.
Obviously, that's the point. It has a context. So if you want to punish that person because they're saying that offensively, that, if you feel that this person, but it's not fair to then say to everybody else who's not using that word, that this word has now been banned. I just think that's ridiculous. That's my point.
You think people
like, I don't think you can suddenly say, go backwards and delete words that had real meaning because someone has perverted it, because then it never stops. It just.
I definitely agree with that, because I think it's more so crucify the person who's misusing the word. Because now look what we have here. We have people who don't even know how to use the real meaning of regular words. So now they're just calling things this. And I know it was a time where you used the word gay. It wasn't talking about something gay. So they misused it for slang. But we just get so sensitive, more sensitive over other words other than the N-word. I understand he said we're going to ban books that say the N-word. How many N-words actually read books? So then you got to go into, shouldn't it matter more in media? You can't say the word F word in media, but you can say the N word in media. It's kind of like with Glorilla. She had to take the R word out of her songs while saying in other music, me and my B words and niggas go crazy. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, we can't pick and choose. Like if this is offensive because it offends a crowd, why don't certain words that were intended and were created to offend us don't offend us? We switch it up.
Exactly. That's a great point. And another thing, they're always trying to convince us why other people should say the N-word. They don't do that with the F word. No, you can't say that. But they have panels and real dissertations about why can't white people say this word and why can't that? So when it comes to words that's offensive to us, we got to have panels about why everybody should be able to say it. But words that's offensive to a person, not racially, but who just has a different preference of who they want to lay with, we got to censor everything we say for them. They don't have conversation of why I can't say that. So they're just trying to replace us with a whole different group of people. But this is the thing, fantasy. Words don't evolve. Usage does. And the usage of words is a product of people evolving or devolving. But a word means what a word means. And the definition is not going to change. That's why you have what's called etymology. The only thing that changed is not the meaning of words, but the minds of people and how they use those words. That's
I was gonna ask that because it's intent behind the words that change, because it's just like the B word. If something happened in this contentious conversation, you better not call me no bitch, right? But if we going out, what's that bitch? You know, like now bitch is not so offensive. If a regular man, a straight man say, damn, you a pretty ass bitch, right? I'm offended. A gay man sees me, damn bitch, you look good. I'm not offended. You see what I'm saying?
It's the usage and who's doing it, not the word. The word means what it means.
The definition has been the definition. So I think I can see that the meaning of the how people use the word and how we receive the word evolve, but the actual word definition stays the same.
Like
but they do.
Gay. What does the word gay mean? It means happy.
But then they add definitions to words as well. So then you have definition 1, definition 2, you know what I'm saying? So I haven't actually just Googled what the definition of the F word is to know if it's quote unquote evolved. So maybe that's my ignorance on it.
Becomes constantly having to update the language for people's feelings. I don't think that we should be doing that.
So you would never call me a in my face, right?
Well, why would I just randomly call you a
I'm just meaning.
Have you ever seen the Louis
C.K.
skit on? Have you ever seen the Louis C.K. skit on?
It's like gay, and I hate this, right? But sometimes it just seems like gay men want to be victims. You brought up this topic, and now you're trying to say, would you call me this? Like, nigga, if I wanted to, why? Like, talk about the topic. Stop trying to make yourself a victim to your own sexual choices. That clearly they accept you. You have a platform bigger than most of us, spewing out a message and nothing you research. So why are you sitting up here acting like you're held to the shackles of your sexuality, and you're not? Would you call me this? It's like, why are you trying to demonize what she's saying because she's saying this word has an original definition?
Because she didn't even use it in that manner that he's talking about. But the funny thing is, if you look up that word right now, the first thing that's going to come up is a gay man. So that's what the word means, right? That's in the dictionary. So it's not like we choosing it. That's what it means.
So would you say they have a point where it evolved?
I don't think it evolved. I think people's minds devolved to the point where we have to justify low-hanging, low-vibrational things to make it relevant that it's really not. I'm not saying you should call them that word. You should, because it's offensive to anything that's offensive to somebody. You shouldn't call them that. But the meaning is the meaning, and that meaning was there before I was born. So I don't know, man. Words mean what they are, and people just got to deal with what they choose to call themselves. If I want to call myself a trick and get mad because somebody say, "Yo, can I get some money?" Like, I'm calling myself a trick, so that's what come with that. Like, if you want to claim something, you got to deal with what you're claiming. Everybody ain't going, especially people of color. Like, that's just not our culture, bro.
All right, we're gonna get through this last point, and we're gonna bring up Umar.
No, I like Louis C.K., but I don't think I've ever seen a skit on.
You should watch it.
Yeah. No, but you would never call like a gay person that to their face.
That seems like an absurd, like, what? No, of course, I'm not just going around. I'm a 35-year-old mother. I don't go around being like, hey, you're a it's just like, I'm not 18 years old. Like, I'm not going around calling people names, period. I wouldn't go up to a fat person and call them names. I wouldn't call it just like it's an absurd thing to be going around pointing and calling people names because I don't like them. I would no. So the answer is no, I would not.
Do you use the N-word?
No, I don't.
No. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Here's something interesting that we may have some common ground on. Okay. But what do you think about same-sex marriage?
It's a sin.
You think it's a sin? So you think I'm sinful?
What's that?
You think I'm sinful because I'm married to a man?
Yeah.
You do?
Yes, okay. You're sinning. You are in a sinful relationship. I actually don't believe marriage can be between two men. So I don't.
But you understand, though, Candace, and maybe we're not going to agree on this now. I thought we would. Do you understand, though, that the same Bible verses and the same scriptures that are used to call same-sex marriage sinful are used to call interracial marriage sinful as well? And so there are people who would say that you are in a sinful marriage.
Can you tell me which verse it is that would make people say?
The thing is that it's actually not there, and that people twist the Bible verses. That's my whole point for things.
So what I use
is
the
he
N
talking
word.
about?
He just said the same verse that they condemn homosexuality with is the same verse they can use to condemn her from being in an interracial relationship with and say it's a sin. She said, "Can you tell me which verse?" Well, that's the point. There is no verse, but there are verses that condemn your sexuality. How are you? What?
But my thing is, why does literature matter now? It didn't matter when she was giving you actual documents of books and authors. It didn't matter then. But now literature matters. Now words matter. Now sources matter. And you still don't have a proof of the source. Like I'm telling you, people confuse articulation and decorum for wisdom and intelligence. They are not synonymous like you think they are. He's articulate, he's poised, but he's saying absolutely nothing.
Thank you for proving that, because it doesn't say that. And it's actually, you're going to say Leviticus or whatever. It's not actually what Leviticus says, but go on. I don't want to get into specifics about the Bible, but that's not what the Bible says. It's just people using and
Don't tell her to go on his.
It literally says that
scripture in a way that they want to interpret it. So look, you can believe whatever you want to believe. I don't believe that I'm in a sinful marriage, but there are people who believe, Candace Owens, that you are in a sinful marriage because you are in an interracial marriage. And I say that as someone who is in an interracial marriage, so I am doubly sinful.
Yeah, I've never heard anybody make a biblical argument against people being married that are black and white. So that's why I said, can you just tell me what verse that was? Sodomy is obviously a sin, but I've never heard a biblical argument. I'm happy to learn. I honestly, I'm happy to learn.
Sodomy is not just for gay sex, right? You know that, right? Sodomy is.
Yeah, it's a sin always, by the way.
Yeah, it's a sin between, it can be a sin between heterosexuals as well.
Yes, that's correct.
So, okay.
Are you admitting that it's a sin?
You've never heard?
Literally, because
you pushed it. So is it a sin? Yes or no? You say it is. So if it's a sin between a man and woman, so what is it between a man and a man? So you just contradict yourself. So you let people talk long enough, they tell him he just admitted that it's a sin. Because when they brought up sodomy, they brought up in the Bible specifically for that to describe male and male. So it's like, bro, you just admitted that it is considered a sin in the Bible.
But he's literally so concerned with trying to make her look bad. He's making himself look bad instead of just listening to what she's saying. What's wrong with saying, yeah, I agree that according to your faith, my relationship is sinful. So asking her that question was irrelevant. You have her something, just be okay with what your relationship looked like to their belief. I don't understand.
Yeah, if it don't go with it, don't go with it. Deal with it.
That interracial marriage was sinful?
I've never heard somebody make a biblical argument for interracial. I've never, and that's why I'm saying if you could present that to me, and if maybe you're familiar with what verse that was.
It's not a biblical argument. It's also a religious argument as well.
Where's the source?
That you're in a sinful marriage and that black and white people should not be married.
I mean, I'm obviously very aware that people could think that ideologically, but I've never heard that biblical argument made ever in my life. And I'm happy to be proven wrong here, but I think you made that up on the spot there.
So by saying that, no, I didn't actually, but by saying that you believe that I'm in a sinful marriage, does that mean though that I should be discriminated against?
No, I've never called for discrimination.
So you believe in the separation of church and state then?
Heterosexual couples can sin as well. I mean, I hope that you deal with that. I want you to be Christian and to understand why it is that sodomy is a sin and what else it yields in society. I believe that marriage is between a man and a woman.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that you believe that I should be discriminated against. I don't
believe
I should be able to have, under the Constitution, you believe that I have the same rights as you and other heterosexuals, and that my marriage is just as valid under the Constitution as anybody else's, including.
Well, I believe that the problem became that gets into a deeper theological discussion, but like the government should have never taken marriage away from the church. It should have been something that was maintained as a church practice. And so a lot of things happened there when the government took over and began marrying people, because then the arguments became, well, you get a tax break if you're married. And that is a way longer discussion that we can have on a different day. But to answer your question, I would never want any person based on their sins to ever be discriminated against, ever. I mean, I don't believe in discrimination. I don't believe that people should be treated differently. I think people should get help, you know? And like we were just talking about with trans indoctrination, I believe that's a mental illness and people should seek help. But I don't believe that they should be discriminated against. I would never be okay with that.
Okay.
I mean,
I am going to put it there because we definitely have to bring up the next conversation, y'all. You know, for a second. So, what y'all think so far about the Candace situation? So, I think I like the pro-American approach because we're going off of policies. We're going off of things that actually affect our lives, not this. Oh, but the white man did it. Let's really get down to what we're talking about when things start happening. So, I like the pro-American approach at this point. So now we're just gonna get into a little rougher things. King Kong consciousness. What do you say? Black queens forever, snow bunnies never. Okay. Period. And he's starting a what did they say earlier? A snow bunny retreat or something to free y'all from the shackles of the snow bunny. Fantasy, he talking about you. Just kidding. Hold on. Let's play this.
So next question from Michael G. Brother Umar, you have eloquently articulated the generational problems. Do you have any active and effective solutions in place or pending that could have generational impact?
Well, number one, education in schools, obviously, from a psychological perspective. Until we have a psychological revolution, we won't have any other kind. Until you change the way Black people think, you change nothing about us. Our problems, we have the money. We got all the educated people. You understand? We got the intelligence. We got the number. We got what we need. The only resource we're missing is the psychological resource. Black people are not committed. Black people don't believe in themselves. White power has convinced us we can't beat it. You see that? White power has convinced us we can't beat it. And this is a big reason why. This is a big reason why a lot of Black men are dating white women.
Let's get into the snow bunnies.
Because the white woman, stay with me, the white woman is the Black man's surrender flag. When I walk into a party with my white wife, when I go on vacation with my white wife, when I go into a job interview with my white wife, when I go to a business dinner with my white wife, I'm communicating to the white man that as much as I can be, I am one of you and I am on your side because look at who I'm sleeping with. The white woman is a symbol of the Black man's masculine surrender.
You think?
I know he's serious, but if you mute it. You mute it.
I think in some cases that can be so, but I think more often than not, I think in some cases Black men will get a white woman to shit on the white man. Like, look what I got. It depends on how he moving. Like, if you still on what you on, if you haven't changed yourself, you still the same person you was from the city when you grew up, and you got a Becky. That's more you trying to flex on white society more so. But if you're like more acquiescent to them, if you're very, you talk a certain way, like it just depends. Like, I can't say that can just mean that it's a white flag to white folks. It is in some cases. In some cases, just that's their preference. They want to show you that look what I could do with your woman. So it's subjective.
I look at it differently because I look at it from the Malcolm X standpoint when he was knocking down the snow bunnies, and he was walking. You remember we had him walking crazy. I look at it from a standpoint of what if they don't look at it as a white flag, but they look at it as disrespect that we are in y'all house with y'all women. Because, I mean, that's one perspective to look at it. But I guess from a standpoint that Dr. Umar is speaking of is the successful Black man. He leaves his Black woman and he goes to get this white woman to spend his success with, and not the Black people. So then it would look like, oh, well, he wanted to multiply with us and put his resources into our community still and not his own. So he understood that when he got this success where he wanted to multiply if he wanted to be in those rooms. I've heard him kind of speak from that perspective. Go ahead.
It is in some cases, but the thing with Umar when it comes with Black men, like some Black men part ways with him, is him dismissing the totality of why men pick those women. It's not just because they're trying to shame their woman. Like that's like a low, that's like escape, like a cop out. It's like most of these brothers are not just leaving the black woman just because they just want to show, just to get with the white woman to fit in. Some brothers just they feel like they have a better relationship experience with these women. It's not necessarily about race, even with a woman. Like sometimes people do shit despite it. But by you just making it seem like everybody does it, you dismiss people who just literally just say, no, I just really like this person and she really just fits me. Because a lot of people, when they get more elevated, when they become more prestigious, sometimes trying to bring our people along is not always the best idea. Not saying you shouldn't do it, but sometimes our people are not. They might not just be have the ability to blend in or deal with certain people in certain areas. Sometimes your mate might get intimidated because someone said a word they don't understand, or sometimes our people don't be ready to be in certain rooms. So I don't think it's just cut and dry. It's just you're turning your back on people. You know what I mean? I think sometimes when you get a certain bag, you feel more comfortable with somebody from another race because they know how to handle it, or they know how to act. They have the proper decorum. I don't think it's just cut and dry as men trying to just spite black women. And I don't think it's cut and dry as women just trying to spite black men. Some do it. Some just really like the person.
I think they're looking for it because there's a lot of, when you get to those certain rooms, it's black women who know how to handle a certain decorum as well. But
they do. But the problem is this: most of the ones that, I ain't gonna say most, a lot of them that do have the decorum in those rooms, guess what? They don't have it. So is the catch-22. They have it in there. I know a lot of very good, well-spoken, smart, articulate corporate women, but they don't know how to be the feminine woman at home, the passive woman at home. The docile, they don't know how to turn that shit off. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times you bring those white women in those rooms, they're not even talking. They just there to support and say, yeah, I'm here with him. They're not even walking around saying, sometimes black women in those rooms, they do too much talking and be too social. You know what I'm saying? The white women sometimes ought to just bask in the ambience of being this man's woman, so it's subjective.
So
not too early.
But organization.
Yeah.
You can't solve any problem without being organized. Until we organize, we don't solve any problem. So when he said, what's the next step? Organize. In other words, where's the study group at in Toronto? How often are black men coming together to study and to also discuss our issues and plot a course forward? Where is the black bank in Toronto? Or can we start a credit union? Or could we start a SUSU where every black man in this cipher is going to put $100 in a month? And once we get $100,000, we're going to buy a building. So we got a place where we can organize our people, take care of our young folks. Institutions are 50% of the solutions. Institutions, school, bank, hospital, supermarket, manufacturing, distribution. If we ain't talking institutions, we're not serious about solutions. And the reason why we can't change our people's behavior is, in order to change behavior, you got to have control over the institutions that they need, right? If I want to work for the white man, he's going to tell me how to dress. He's going to tell me how to look. He's going to tell me how to talk. And I'm going to do it because I want that job, or I want that free food, or I want that housing. You can only control people's behavior when you got something they need. We don't do anything for our people. Why the hell would they listen to you? Right. Until you can provide them with what they need, you'll never get their attention.
So I have a quick question. Actually, it's two questions.
So introduce yourself to the audience.
Oh, my name is Umar. I'm the owner of Activated Studios, Competent Construction, Activated Estate, Activated Trucking. I do multiple things.
Powerful.
Peace and Pan-Africanism.
Yes, sir.
But I would say, when you're trying to organize your family, like the men in the family, the women in the family, so many different ways of thinking. How do somebody go about that? Because it's very hard to get to the meat of the situation, because like you said earlier, it's a lot of bickering, different situations at hand that's irrelevant, really, but we just can't get past that to create something economically so we can just grow as a family to, obtain power, let's say political power,
yes,
or anything like that. So that's one. And the next question is, what would you say to somebody who in a hood, the neighborhood, right, where they think no one is bigger than the hood, and you have to be of the hood because you're from the hood?
Right.
So
that first question with the family, that's a good question, and it's tough because family is the source of everybody's trauma.
Right.
Any issue we have, addiction, smoking, suicide, low self-esteem, it started in that family. It's going to be difficult to organize your family without first addressing those traumas.
Right.
If you got unacknowledged sex abuse in that family, you got unacknowledged emotional abuse, you got unacknowledged adultery, you got unacknowledged betrayal, unacknowledged theft, unacknowledged sabotage, and nobody organized. It's gonna be a fight popping off every 5 minutes, an argument, right?
Right.
Same thing with the larger community. Same thing, right? We just going to the microcosm. So for me, if I'm trying to organize my family, I'm only going to go to 4 or 5 people who I know I can trust. And we're going to get organized first come up with the blueprint, and then the relatives that they're most closest with, they're going to pull in one by one. The worst thing you can do with your family, the worst thing we can do with Black people is invite everybody to the table at the same time. That's a recipe for disaster. Get the ones who want to win and get the ones who ain't necessarily concerned later.
I for sure agree with that. Because this is one thing, like you kind of said earlier, all skin folk ain't kinfolk. Ain't that what it is? So in a sense, why do we think everybody needs to go? Some people don't think like this. A lot of people are on the down limit side. They're not like for our people. They're not for anything that has to do with what we believe we should be moving, how we should be moving as a unit. So why do we even include their opinions or what they think when it comes to what we're doing on his perspective of being a pro-Black, Black over everything type of person? What you think? You muted still.
I think the problem is Black is defined differently depending on who you ask. Like some people being Black is being hood as hell. Some people being Black is something else. So it's like, so it comes to conversation like, oh, you're not Black enough. You're not, you know. So it's too ambiguous to lock in, because there's some Black people who, if people feel like if you're not a hip hop enthusiast, or if you don't want to love hip hop, or you don't like soul food, then you're not Black. No, you just may not be familiar. You may not just relate to the American Black experience in certain cultural senses, but as far as being a good person who's Black, you fit that box. So it's like we alienate people who don't fit the kind of Black that we like. That's why you got so much Black people that's doing other things, that engaged in different lifestyles, engaging with different races, because they feel like, well, I wasn't Black enough for y'all, so I went and dealt with this race, so I dealt with this person. Because at the end of the day, people are just people. Everybody just a person. They just like what they like. So I think when it comes to the generation that I think he'd be speaking to, which is our generation, we've been through a lot. And I'm definitely pro stay with your race. But when you've been through a lot of trauma, I'm definitely pro us, but I'm also pro peace of mind. If you've been through this, you come from the hood, who am I to tell you how to, as long as you keep it in a natural way, man and woman, not to knock anybody doing nothing else. If you're doing it that way, peace to you. But if you're just at least doing it heterosexually, if you might be with a white woman, you might be with a Spanish man, I just want to know if you're happy. I just want to know if you're with somebody that really loves you, that really care about you. Are you with them because you care about the person? And you're not with them to spite your man or spite your woman? I don't really have no say in it, because our generation went through a lot. And it's like at a certain point, people just want to be happy. And if they find happiness, they ain't out here shooting up shit. They ain't out here bashing their sister or bashing their brother. Who they lay with, it really doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? Because you can have a child with a white woman or a child with a white man, and that child will have a child with another Black child. And it can come right back full circle. So it just, people just doing whatever they can do to just repair from, like he said, the traumas of their past. And you can't tell people how to deal with their trauma. You just can't.
You guys heard it first here. Illa is open-minded to being with a white woman. Shout out to you, Bunny hopping. Bunny hopping on that thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Problem we make in Black America with our families and with our communities, we assume everybody has the same level of commitment to our struggle. And we know that ain't the truth. Why are you starting with people who got little concern? Get the ones who got big concern. I'd rather have 3 people who I know are ride or die than 3,000 who I know I can't trust. Right. But your second question, which is another good question, which I think is something that we ain't dealt with enough. And that is this tendency for Black people, Black men in particular, to elevate their loyalty to the hood above their loyalty to Black folks. You see this in the hip hop community, where you see hip hop artists basically saying, without saying it, because they don't want to go too far, I'm loyal to hip hop. I ain't loyal to Black people. You almost feel it. You almost feel it, right? Like, yeah, we might kill and talk about shooting and sex and the women, but that's what hip hop is. Okay, but it's negatively impacting the community. And they almost want to say, I don't care.
Shit. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
That's fact.
So my thing is this: if the Black community cannot rehabilitate and re-anchor hip hop culture back into the community that birthed it, we're gonna have to destroy it.
And it's funny you say that, because right here at the studio, Activated Studios, I had those same conversations with different artists. And like I said, a lot of them come from New York, just all over, and come here to make their music. And I say, well, you say this, but it affect. They be like, man, I don't give a. They tell me it's all. It's
almost like, you know, it's almost like. You know how we got the Black bourgeoisie? They consider themselves above. They don't have to answer to nobody else. Right. They don't care how what they do affects the rest of us. The hip hop community is almost a Black bourgeoisie of its own.
Right.
We don't see it as that because they act like they from the hood. But think about it. They're not from the hood no more. They don't live there.
True.
You understand?
Right,
they don't
true,
party
true.
there.
Right.
They damn sure don't spend their money there.
Right.
So if you look at it, the hip hop community is really the new bourgeoisie.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Think about it. They live in white neighborhoods. They all of them send their kids to white schools.
Right.
They only act like they still from the hood to stay relevant to sell their music. Outside of that, they live in white lives.
Like Travis Scott.
That's
They live in white lives.
Oh, okay. I'll go first.
Well, go ahead.
Okay, I don't disagree, but I think we put too much onus on hip hop culture versus what it was for. But I understand that he's talking about it from a standpoint of the artist because the message is very impactful and it has done a lot of harmful things as far as people want to mimic those characters. I can just go be a rapper or a ball player, right? Those are the things that help you get out of the quote unquote hood. I also understand because as a Black person who would be from the hood, why would you mimic something to sell it and you're not even there anymore? On top of the fact you're not putting that money back into those neighborhoods so that those people don't have to go through the same struggle because you understood you signed a contract with people who tell you that this is what sells and this is what we want you to do. But if you look at what hip hop originally was created for, it was an outlet to document things that went on. So even for Dr. Umar, hip hop, I believe, has even helped him because a lot of hip hop platforms have shown who Dr. Umar was in his messages. Dr. Umar, based on his message, I don't think it's a good idea to attack hip hop, especially at this point, because unlike Candace Owens, you will not get in those rooms. She will, because she understands where to placate and what conversations to have. You being pro-Black messenger, you kind of limit the access we can go to following your message because you're now coming through hip hop when hip hop is the catalyst of where we can speak freely in a sense, because we can't go to country music or things that we also created that they cut us out from. So where would you like us to release our grievances so that we don't have to harm anybody? A lot of lives were saved because they rather go in the studio and talk about killing this nigga than actually killing them. What you think?
I don't like when Umar said this because if they were to say, hey, Black people are criminals and they gangbang and they sell drugs and they women are strippers, he would break down why it seems that way and delineate the two. So why can't you do that with hip hop? See, people got to understand the difference between hip hop and rap. Rap culture is a subculture of hip hop, but hip hop is not strictly about rapping. It's one thing. It's rapping, there's DJing or making music, there's art or graffiti, there's dancing, breaking, whatever. And then the fifth element is knowledge. So instead of saying we need to knock hip hop, a better statement would be we need to get hip hop back. We need to separate what's hip hop and what's not. And we need to stop letting people misrepresent hip hop. Because he'll quickly tell you about Pan-Africanism, and he'll talk about he not going to let you just say, oh, all Black people are killers and dealers. He's going to say, no, it's not all like that. Everybody Black is not represented by that. So to be Black don't mean to be a killer or a dealer or a blood or a crip or a hoe or a crackhead. That's not what being Black means. So hip hop has nothing to do with this stuff. A lot of the music that's even degradation, that's even degraded, it's not even coming from the area that created hip hop. And not to throw a region under the bus, but it's like, come on, bro. You got trap, you got drill, and then you got rap, you got gangster rap, and then you got hip hop. Now, certain people might make a gangster rap album with hip hop elements. Somebody might make a trap album with hip hop elements. Somebody might make a drill album with hip hop elements. But hip hop has a specific sound. It has a specific point of view. And a real hip hop album is well rounded. For example, Common's album, B, well rounded. College Dropout, well rounded. Illmatic, well rounded. The Blueprint, like there are examples of a complete hip hop album. Don't bring up no damn King Von song or some Trippie Redd song or some song that's talking about killing and drilling and trying to say, see, look at what hip hop produced. No, that's not what hip hop produced. That's what the streets produce, and ultimately that's what Bad Parenting produced. Hip hop made songs like Self-Destruction. Hip hop made songs like We All in the Same Game. Hip hop made songs like I Know I Can't Be One I Want to Be. Hip hop is one thing. Hip hop is just so dope that everybody wants a piece of it and they want to take from it and turn into something that they want to turn into. But that ain't what hip hop is. And as a black man, you should be able to tell the difference and be able to regurgitate to people what hip hop is and what people tell you hip hop is. That's like the same thing he do with black people. He lets you know, oh, there's this type of black person and then this type of black person, but you don't throw away the whole black culture. It's like if you take that thinking and apply it to other places, it won't work. Hip hop saved a lot of people. Rap is something totally different.
Okay, so let's say there's a difference between hip hop and rap, right? Quickly, he said you have the ones that they're not from the hood, they're the black bourgeoisie. Okay, so recent events.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say this is like black bourgeoisie, or would you say one's hip hop, one's an artist? Would you say one cares about hip hop, one cares about black people, or they're both hip hop, which is both?
They're both hip hop. They're just two aspects of it. Drake's hip hop is, he got the beats, he got the rhymes, and it's more of like a mainstream his music doesn't have political perspective. Like he not speaking truth to power. But as far as the elements of just the hip hop sound, he has them. He raps well. He has wordplay. The beats are hard, and he got good music. So he makes hip hop music. He just doesn't make conscious hip hop music. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think.
Come on, Drake.
Yeah, he makes it's like a pop version of it, but he respects the craft enough to give you the basic elements of it, which is lyricism, articulation. Like I don't think Drake is speaking about black issues. He's not speaking about the inner city. No, he don't. But he does.
He's robbing underground artists for their music. So
yeah, a lot of people, a lot of people did that. Like I get it, but at the same time, it's like with Kendrick. Kendrick has endorsed certain sentiments that I don't think is appropriate. Like he endorsed abortions. He did a whole thing with the crown of thorns on his head, bleeding, talking about, defending women's rights for abortion. Ain't nothing hip hop about that. So it's like hip hop is about, like Nas said, shorty, stop aborting your womb. We need more warriors soon, sent from the stars, sun, and the moon. Like hip hop is it's pro-life. So it's like, and he's supposed to be the hip hop savior. So it's like both of those dudes can be critiqued. But the baseline of how they approach the music is hip hop. They really rap. They really put words together. Like even though Drake won't give you no deep record, Drake will give you an introspective record that shows some type of morality to a degree. He's not just talking about killing. He's not breaking down, the inner city plight. But he definitely gives you some vulnerability in being a man and dealing with the opposite sex. That's still a sense of depth beyond vanity. You know what I'm saying? That's still hip hop. You know what I mean? It ain't the deepest. It ain't, you know what I'm saying? It ain't one mic, but it's still showing some type of depth beyond the surface. Even if it's not that deep, it's still alluding to some type of depth. So it's like, I just think it's the difference between this drill shit, this trap shit, and hip hop music. You know what I mean? Even with all this shit going on, who's the real most decorated artist? Drake, J. Cole, Kendrick. All three of those artists approach music from a hip hop perspective, really respecting the craft. I really got to have good music. I really got to have good bars. So hip hop is still the epitome of the sound. It's just that a lot of radio stations play a lot of bullshit from a lot of different areas. That's kind of making hip hop a joke, but they said it themselves. It's not hip hop. It's drill. It's trap. So call it that.
That's a great point.
You still selling death and destruction to my kids while your kids going to $30,000 a year privileged white schools. That's what you call a traitor. The hip hop community has betrayed Black America. So why does it still exist? Because of the money. Black people worship money and materialism. And since the hip hop artists can provide it, hip hop ain't going to go nowhere. We claim to be Christian. No, we not. We are idol worshipers. And the idol is money and merchandise. Most Black Christians are not Christians. Most Black Muslims are not Muslims. Most Black Hebrew, Seventh-day Adventists, evangelists, Episcopalians, most African spiritualists, no, they not. They are idol worshipers. Look at how they live. I don't care what they profess. Look at how we live. Are we really worshiping God or are we worshiping money?
Dr. Umar, I got a challenge. I got a challenge.
Introduce yourself to the audience one time.
This is Mouse Jones. I'm back. I just want to challenge some or just get a bit clarity from my own. When you say that hip hop
isn't of the hood anymore, or hip hop has become this thing? Are we talking about the culture of hip hop? Or are we talking about the industry of hip hop?
I'm talking about both, and I'm gonna tell you why.
Yeah.
I don't like when we have conversations about the degenerative side of hip hop, and members of the hip hop community, which we all are, will try to scapegoat the degeneracy as gangster rap.
Yeah.
And say that the culture of hip hop is something different.
Right.
That may be true. But you know what the problem is?
What?
If that is true, why don't those who claim to identify with the progressive side of hip hop do not hold accountable those who engage in the degenerative form of hip hop?
How do you
in other words, take the BET Awards. And of course, BET owned by white folks. We understand, right? But guess what? The positive and the negative are on showcase there. There's no delineation made. On all the hip hop platforms, the positive and the negative are on display. There's no delineation there. So if we want to make a delineation between what is hip hop and what is not, we got to do it more than in the conversation with Dr. Umar. Because the question I would ask people, is Jay-Z hip hop?
Yes.
Most people say yes. Well, look at the content of his music. Isn't that degenerate? Is Notorious B.I.G. hip hop? Look at the content of his music.
Okay, so this is why I'm with you. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So we can't call a kettle black on Monday and red on Tuesday. Either it's hip hop or it's not. And before you respond, let me give you an analysis to make it a little bit more clear. Let's take the African-American Muslim community.
Yes, sir.
And Christian community, right? There's brothers who go to the masjid for Juma on Friday.
In the outside wilding. Friday, Saturday. Yeah.
And when you go to the imam and say, that dude right there just took a life the other day, you let him for Friday prayer, you know what he gonna say? Then he's not living Islam. But if he's not living Islam, why the hell he in your masjid? Do you see what I'm saying? You're looking for a way not to have to engage the negative elements because you ain't got the courage to step to them and shut that shit down. And that's what's happening in hip hop. The conscious artists and those who claim that the gangster rap ain't really hip hop, why you ain't saying that to the gangster rappers? Why you ain't going to the BET Awards and saying no more nominations for negative content? If you disrespecting women, if you promoting violence, if you promoting irresponsibility, guess what? No more nominations for you. If that ain't hip hop, why that ain't been done yet? Show me the accountability.
I love that point. I love that point because then you'll have people like T.I. and all these other people that'll come off after you just fed us all this bullshit to be like, oh, we got to get behind this and all this killing. You got to be paid to get in front of something. That is the problem, to be the face of something. But when it comes to real issues, the Beyoncés of the world, the Beyoncés of the world, the Jay-Z's of the world, the people who have made anything that do with hip hop, who we made rich off of liking their music, they become real silent, but only vocal when it comes to these elections and when they get paid for it. So they'll may talk about, I'm against violence, I'm a girl's girl, but yet and still when we see these things behind the scenes, your lifestyle and the things that you're promoting goes directly against this little message you're telling us. Like, it's just like saying, go to school, kids. You could be anything you want to be. You can be a doctor. It's best to do that. Meanwhile, I'm coming to your school. The school is inviting Sexy Red. But the message here is to be better than that. But you're not inviting a popular doctor or somebody who actually created something for you. What's the guy who, he did the movie Pursuit of Happiness was about him?
Yeah.
The black man. Yeah, anyway. I don't really hear too much about him getting invited to schools or things like that. I'm just saying people who made a difference, people who are impactful. But it's kind of like they use hip hop to reach the kids, but the things that end up reaching the kids are the things that the schools do not teach. So then it's an indirect message that says, you know what, why the fuck would I even care about education or going to school or doing anything positive if things negative get me more of a lifestyle? There was a term when I went to school where you heard, well, shit, the drug dealer or the rapper make more than the teacher. But the teacher is the one that actually is teaching the youth, supposed to be more important, but they don't give a damn about their job because they're not going to pay nothing. So why would I go to school to be all these professions when this negative thing makes more money a lot quicker than this profession? So I definitely for sure agree with that point. They're not going to speak against that.
Yeah, he makes sense, but the problem is there's the community is messed up because James Brown and the Soul Review, that era, I don't remember them building banks in schools either. The difference was they didn't have a message that went against progress. The message has got distorted in the community now. So even though they wasn't building stuff, the message in the music inspired you to do something. But today it's not like that, and there's no parents to filter what you're hearing. So you can if you got two parents, it don't matter what's being said. Your parents can direct you what makes sense and what don't. And some of the rappers he mentioned, you know me, I'm very critical of Jay-Z. But Jay-Z has songs where he's explaining what he's talking about. He's saying Hov did that. So hopefully you don't have to go through that. He said, I had to hustle. My back to the wall, ashy knuckles, pockets filled with a lot of lint, not a cent. So it's not about advocating for crime. Can you articulate why you did it and what you gained and what lessons did you gain from taking that road and how you would advise a young person not to do that? You are supposed to articulate all these factors in your music. And if you can't do it, you just can't do it. A person can make a film about something. Menace Society was a graphic film, but it was a lesson in that damn movie. So it's about there's not enough people filtering things out because, like he said, we don't have any family. You could play whatever. It's mad stuff in the world. But if you got the right parents at home, they'll tell you this is what you do with this, baby, and this is what you do with that. You put that over there. But the parents are goofy. It's not them. It is a lot of the music, but it's the lack of guidance and filtering agents in the home to explain to these kids why he said this, why they said that, why you should listen to this, and why you should listen to that. There is no filtering agents. Hip hop led me to knowledge of self. It didn't lead me to the trap. It didn't lead me to destroying myself. It led me to be curious. So I just think that it's a lot of ways to take it, but it's the point about not holding other artists accountable. I agree with that, but some cracks do it. I remember when Nas went on Hot 97, early 2000s, he called out Nori and Nelly. He said, yo, these cats' music is whack, man. They ain't talking about nothing. They ain't saying nothing. They ain't spitting nothing. So certain artists do it, and then when they do it, people are like, oh, he hating. He ain't got no money. So it's like at some point, some people are just going to get tired of speaking up to the truth because most black people, they just want to be down with what's popular. They don't want to question the majority. Most people think Jay-Z and Beyonce is the kings and queens of the black community. Like you better not dare say nothing about them. So how can you even help people that think like that? So I don't know.
Well, I'm glad you said that because when I think of hip hop and what it's helping, let's say people, would you say 50 Cent is hip hop?
He's hip hop. He just don't represent positive parts of hip hop. I think 50 makes it's almost like a gangster element, but he has the elements of sound and rhyming. But
I would disagree with you.
He's just not positive. He's hip hop.
I think 50 Cent. I think 50 Cent is positive. I'm gonna say he's positive because I'm gonna say right, but we judge people off their words or their actions.
50 divided New York hip hop. That was the action. 50 created a lot of division.
But hear me out. When we say hip hop and we're talking about people and he's talking about community and what it's done, 50 Cent has created a platform that has fed other black people, other black workers in entertainment to have an opportunity the same way Tyler Perry has, right? But he's not hip hop. I'm just giving an example. He's gotten to a point where he's used that money for support to actually create buy his own production company, his own land and things like this. He's actually worth a lot of money when it comes to Stars because Stars feels like if they take him off of there, they won't make as much money. I think he's deemed himself as valuable. So I would say based on 50 Cent from where he came from, the opportunities he's given, even when it came to G-Unit and where he's evolved G-Unit, I think he's a positive representation of hip hop, even though his material, like he's saying, may give a negative connotation. But I would say here in 2024, if you think you can beat Tariq St. Patrick, that's more like a personal problem.
But this is why he's hip hop. But what I say that is why I feel like he brought a lot of, and I love 50. I like 50.
I agree with you.
But he divided a lot of people see, I judge artists based on what they do at the height of their influence. That's how I judge you. I don't want to see what you do once you're not as relevant anymore because it doesn't have the same impact. Like if 50 came out and made a statement about the hood, it might have an impact because he got clout from doing shows. But certain rappers, once they pass their prime, like Jay-Z, he's not going to have the same effect he had on our generation because he's not the man. He's the man now because he's rich. But when he was the most popular is when the young people would listen to him. So when 50 was at his height of popularity, what was he saying to the young people? He was saying, he was dividing people. He was saying, if you mess with him, I don't mess with you. He was dissing rappers. He was telling people's personal business. So it's like, when you, like Pop, when Pipe was at the height of his popularity, he made songs like White Man's World. He made songs like Keep Your Head Up. It's like, I'm judging you based on what you do when you got the ball in your hands, when you got the spotlight. That's why I say Michael Jackson is the GOAT, because when he had all the hype and all the popularity, he focused people's attention on things that were not superficial. So when Jay-Z was at the height of his career, he talked the way he talked. When 50 was at the height of his career, he talked what he talked. But when Nas was at the height of his career, or Common was at the height of his career, they made you focus on the young people, focus on the issue. So it's like, it's cool what 50's doing, but at the same time, it's like, bro, what happened to that show you was about to do about Queen and Zinga? That never came out. So it's like giving people opportunities is cool. Like, for example, Nas, right? Nas has an initiative where he's creating healthcare programs for older artists who never got the big share of the big time hip hop money. Older artists that helped pave the way for hip hop. He's creating a program to get them in nursing homes or get them the right healthcare he needed. That's hip hop, not just providing a job for people where the work you're doing is perpetuating a role or an image of a crack dealer. That's cool, but the same imagery is being perpetuated. Like, if I'm watching Power, is that going to make me go to school or try my hand at the street?
The thing is if you watching Power, you should already be out of school and understand the concepts of power. So that's where I just disagree. Some things are
but we got broken homes.
So we don't say other movies is bringing down the white community when we see stuff like Euphoria or stuff like that, where you see drug addicts and stuff like that. So I think certain things is entertaining.
But this my pushback to that. Hip hop has 5 elements. The 5th element is knowledge. So coming from the inner city, you should know that there's a high chance that your listener does not have the proper parentage. That's why they know your music so well.
But how is that hip hop's fault? You get what I'm saying?
I'm not saying this is not hip hop's fault, but it's the MCs like me. I'm from the hood. So if you give me money in a platform, I know that there's a kid out there that thought like me, that didn't have a father like me. So it is my responsibility. It's not nowhere on paper. There's no contractual binding to this. But as a black man who come from the hood, who know about what we go through, you should feel inclined to push a message that can help a child sometimes. That is your responsibility as a black person coming from the inner city in America. I think everybody that's black from America who has a platform to speak, especially an artist, it is your responsibility to drop a jewel on a young person. Yes, I do.
All right, let's go.
I think the accountability happens on multiple levels, but I don't think hip hop holds itself accountable. I agree with that. I agree with that 1000%. I have a video where I discuss hip hop being in desperate need of a Me Too movement.
Yes.
I talk about this.
Yes.
You know, we've come across each other and stuff. You know, through Charlotte.
Yes,
but yeah, I'm always saying that. I think my problem is that when we sit as black people or black people as members of the hip hop community, we can't allow outsiders. We can't allow people, and sometimes it's black people that are outsiders too. Okay. Not every black person is a participant or lives the hip hop culture. You may be a black person, but the hip hop culture you may not subscribe to, right? So just because you're black, I don't look at you for that, right? I need to know that you partake in the hip hop culture, that you subscribe to the hip hop culture, to have such not talking about you. You know what I'm saying when we're looking at that. Basically, so to say that, I say the degeneracy, saying that is a part of hip hop. I don't know if it is. I know it's a crime. I know that it is a byproduct of most times it's a byproduct of of being poor and growing up in poor, underprivileged communities. Like you said, you're a political scientist. I know you've seen it. All the studies show that it's not a black crime problem. That crime is is when opportunity meets underserved communities. That's why when they talk about crime in black neighborhoods, why? Because that's where the most poor people are, right? Crime happens where there are poor people, where there are not opportunities, where opportunities are far and few between, right? So
that's not rain.
Is it? Yeah, that is.
Go ahead, bro.
Oh yeah. So that's what I would say. I don't know that the degeneracy is a part of hip hop as much as it is a crime, but I wouldn't hold anybody in hip hop so accountable for talking about a life they lived or a life they grew up witnessing more than I would hold a journalist responsible for covering what's going on in Palestine or what's going on in war-torn countries.
On his grounds. A journalist is trained to report the news as it occurred without passion or prejudice. Our hip hop artists do not report their experience without passion or prejudice. They report it with both passion and prejudice, and they glamorize and glorify it. To tell me that this is all I can rap about because this is all I've seen when you're living in $1 million mansion and your kids go to a white school, that's a complete hypocrite.
I agree, but I would ask who still does that.
Who still does that?
Like perfect example. You brought up
Who are the top 10 hip hop artists currently rapping right now? What is the content of their music?
I would challenge that most of them are not rap today. Or are you talking about all time?
Right now.
Yeah, I would challenge that all 10 of them are probably not talking about anything hood because that's not the most prevalent music right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool.
All right. So we're talking about trap. I got this.
Yeah.
You got Travis Scott.
What's his content?
We don't know what he's saying, but he's not talking about hood shit. He might be at most talking about like illicit drug use, but that's what he does.
But that's part of it.
He's the top 10 though.
He said top 10. What gangster rappers are top 10? That's not what he said. He didn't ask for that caveat.
Deal with both.
He said both.
Deal with the top 10.
So if the top 10, those are the people that are on. Those are the biggest artists, and those are the people that are selling to the mass audience. I would say Travis Scott, he ain't rapping about that. Maybe Kendrick, but he has balance. Drake, we all know when he talks that gangster shit, he's cosplaying, but
he talked the gangster shit.
He does. He has some of that. Who would be up there? Then Future.
Future talked the gangster shit.
Future talks the gangster shit. Who then
21 Savage talks the gangster shit.
I wouldn't say he's top 10.
I would consider
him top 10.
Right now he's top 10 for sure.
Okay, boom. He's talking that gangster shit.
J. Cole.
He's not talking that gangster shit at all.
Right, I'll give Jay a pass.
Lil Uzi? No.
I don't think most of the country knows who Bossman D-Lo is. It's Sexy Red. I don't think most.
You know what? Here's my rebuttal, and this is why I disagree. You can't pick and choose what you want to consider and not consider hip hop when it's all done under that umbrella and nothing publicly is being done to differentiate.
I think the umbrella is blackness, not hip hop.
He in my mosque praying. He on the street killing. But when you come to me and ask me to hold him accountable, oh, he's not a good Muslim. But he's in your mosque though. So you're saying that ain't really hip hop, but they all at the BET Awards though. They all at the concerts. They all at the
which is there to celebrate the work, not the human.
But you see what you're doing?
I'm just talking about I'm talking about the atmosphere.
Yeah, but
the
BET Award, bro. When is hip hop going to put some structure to the shit? Let me give you an example.
We're in agreement.
Let me give you an example. Just like on the CDs, you know, they used to put parental advisory explicit lyrics.
Yes.
There needs to be.
They still do that.
That's it, right. But there needs to be a stamp that says this is not hip hop. You see what I'm saying? And let me tell you why hip hop doesn't hold gangster rap accountable. Because they the ones making the damn money. And nobody want to get cut out of being potentially included in on that. Why nobody rebuked the NWA? Because look what they were selling. Nobody never stepped to Big or Jay or any of the artists who was into the gangster shit because they sell. Nobody want to be on the wrong side of making money. Money came first. It's the same reason why hip hop was sold out to the white industry. Because everybody cared about the money.
Right.
When we were selling hip hop out of our trunk and everybody was having fun, that's where it should have stayed. But niggas got thirsty for being rich and famous. And they sold it out like every other part of our culture got sold out.
Specific
dance. I'm not the only thing, but I'm just showing
it's just the most vocal and easy. The only challenge I have,
y'all can't be picking and choosing.
When you say Big,
disingenuous because y'all don't make no distinctions nowhere else.
When you say Big died at 24. We don't know where he would have.
I agree. But you still got to take at the material. I'm a big fan.
I know that.
I'm just saying.
But
our greatest artist. There you go.
We specifically want to talk about Jay. Jay is not rapping about. He's not rapping about losing 92 bricks no more. He's rapping about art and wishing he would have made better choices.
He's on his way to 60 now. But his first 4 albums was about what?
But that was his access. That's where he was. If we're going to give them the room to grow.
But here we go. We're going back to the journalist argument.
What you were saying?
I'm saying he right about that because it's like I said, it's about what these artists do when they got the ball in their hands. Jay is a retired. It's like Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan is popular, but he's not going to be able to reach the youth like LeBron can because they seen him. They heard about Jordan. They seen LeBron. This generation heard about Jay. All they know Jay is being Beyonce's husband. A lot of people don't even know Queen Latifah used to rap. They don't even know LL rap because when they got into them, they was introducing them as LL the actor, Queen Latifah the actor, Joe Budden's the podcaster. He's a rapper. So they're coming after that. So Umar is pointing out the point I made. It's about what these artists do when they got the rock, when they got the shit, when you are the man. What are you saying when all eyes are on you as the top dude in hip hop? That's why I respect Kendrick. That's why Kendrick and J. Cole, they get love. because at the top of their game, when they got all the credit, even Kanye to a degree, they keeping it real and giving you some real shit. And what Umar said is right. They need to just stop saying it's hip hop, because what people are doing is they're benefiting on the house that hip hop built, but they're not making hip hop, but they're benefiting from it. You know what I'm saying?
That's a good point.
Yeah, it's like you worked your whole life to be a millionaire teacher, and your child can benefit from that, but they're a fucking stripper. It's like, yeah, you get to live off of my name, but you're not adding value to it. So people are making careers off of what hip hop did in the past, but they're not adding to the value of hip hop. That's why in Atlanta they don't have a
they're bringing it down pretty much.
Exactly. In Atlanta, it's not a hip hop museum. T.I. calls it what? He said it's a trap museum. Cool. So stop blaming hip hop for what trap is saying and what trap is talking about. Sorry, hip hop and trap, it's not the same thing. It's just not or drill.
They're not reporting what they went through neutrally like a journalist. They are celebrating and glorifying it.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? Look at all the rap beefs. They glorify and glamorize because conflict sells.
You benefit from your experience. And I'm talking about you. You benefit from your experience, everything you've studied, everything you researched.
Yeah, but I'm from the ghetto too.
I'm not.
We're not. Did.
Yeah, we're
not.
No.
I can talk about what I've seen.
I'm not talking about that. I'm not even challenging that. I'm just saying you sit here today, Harold. We're all excited and we're all appreciative and cherish the moment
So
we have.
saying they had to glamorize it.
I'm not saying they had to glamorize. I'm saying they made
Enemy
something
was from the hood, but Public Enemy chose to flip it.
Right, but that's
when
what
I
Chuck
look at
D
Big
decided
Daddy
to do.
Kane or Rakim, they was into the gangster shit, but they also had that other side of consciousness with them. I could deal with that because it was a balanced hip hop. The Big Daddy Kane, the KRS, it was a balanced hip hop. It's full tilt now.
I don't know if that's true based on just the level of music that everyone has access to. Right? If you have access to this much music,
defend it? I'm gonna give you the same argument I gave them about Drake not coming out telling everybody he black. Why defend it? And why not just make them accountable?
I think because like I said earlier, I think the conversation is deeper, and we're going to need someone like you and other like-minded people that are going to be able to have that conversation outside of the white gaze.
I hear what you're saying.
Where because this is layered, right? The same issues we talk about just within the black community and how the mental struggles and the PTSD that you talk about, all of that, it's all prevalent.
But I don't think it's ever going to happen. You want to know why?
Oh, I agree with
because
you.
the Jewish, Jewish companies,
they got
control the financial.
So it'll never happen.
But of hip hop.
I'm with
nobody wants to be on the other side of not making money, and because of that, everybody's going to turn a blind eye.
Which means the grace needs to come. Which means the grace needs to come within. But like I said, it is one of the. It's almost a byproduct of being black and being in support of other black people. No, I'm not saying that.
The job of an artist is not just to describe; it is to project. An artist, even an artist that's doing art to show you the ghetto, they are still supposed to project it in such a way that shows people how this ghetto can be transformed into something it's currently not. Hip hop artists don't do that. They don't say this is what we're living.
I don't know if you was on a panel with me. But I was on a panel and I told people, because they always talking about we always talk about keeping it real with these films and stuff. I said, I'm tired of people making movies that just talk about where we are and we do not. It's called the power of projected imagination. You don't just have to talk about the crime. You can literally make up an idea and scenario and project that into the minds of people so they can manifest it, because the Europeans do it all the time. They put something into your mindset in these films, and next you know, you're fucking doing that shit, or you subconsciously allow it to take place. They gave us Terminator and all that in the 90s. Now you watching, when I first moved to Charlotte, they had robots delivering food. Not like humans, but they had little robots all over uptown delivering food to folks. So when I see the 50 cents that get a contract with Lionsgate, when I see the Steph Currys that get a contract with Netflix, are they making shows that project what we can be, or are they regurgitating the same shit? Steph Curry with his high yellow rich ass, he made a Good Times remix that's worse than the PJs. It's like, this is what these people with money do when they get this bread. They don't inspire us. And like I bring up the Black Panther movie. Look how well that movie did. It shows you that there's not only a market for gangster stories, there's actually a valuable market for people of all races that will patronize Black supremacy or black positivity. And then when you give black people a movie or a show that projects that, like the Cosbys, what do they say? Well, that's not real. I don't know nobody like that. That's not the fucking point. You can aspire to something like this. You can aspire to the different world, but we only want to see hood and gangster tales, but we don't project the power of imagination. So that's the excellent point he made, and I've made it in the past.
Let's just say this with Black Panther. They give you this, even though he was weaker than Killmonger, but that's another conversation. They give you this, and Killmonger was more of the conscious person that should have been for the people. Wait. I get it. But I'm just saying, then they killed the conscious one, and they killed off the Black Panther hero. So now, then they say, oh, so black community, not only did we give you a black male hero, we killed that nigga and made him a woman. That's how I looked at it.
Well, you need to go and read
what we should be doing.
We're also
This
talking
is
about
what we're going through, but let's take
we're
it
also
here.
talking
You
about
only
we're
get a
also
handful.
No, what I was saying is what it should let people do is go actually find out the story of Black Panther, because that movie is just one little clip, but he has many novels. But I don't think Killmonger was more radical and T'Challa was more diplomatic. I think they were two polarities, and I think we got to stop separating. Even in ancient Egyptian culture, you got the left-hand path, you got the right-hand path. You look at the statues of ancient pharaohs, they got Set on their left shoulder and they got Heru on their right, because
So
it's
they're
both necessary. That's why when Killmonger died, because Set comes from the words, Set represents, the word Satan comes from the word Set, and Set comes from the old concept of light versus dark. Heru represents the sun, Set represents the night. That's why when the sun sets, it's darker. So the original clash between good and evil anciently, which is daytime versus nighttime. That's why that's why when Killmonger died, where did he ask T'Challa to take him? To see the sunset, letting you know what energy he's representing. So it's not about picking one over the other. They're both necessary. We both have both sides. We need both.
I like that.
Oh, who do that?
We're also
They're not progressive.
We're also talking about 9 times out of 10. We're also talking about kids. We're talking about young people who come straight from poverty into millions. There's that middle ground doesn't happen.
This podcast is brought to you by Narai Cellars Wines, the only black owned wines in Canada. We know what to do. Hit the link below and scoop up not one, not two, but a case of wine. This is a white field blenders wine. So make sure you go scoop that. Hit the link below. And this is NaraiCellars.ca. Let's get back to the show.
Negro, your most popular rappers, 30 and 40, still talking gangster shit.
Well,
Not really.
Who?
Where y'all
We're talking about
What are you
successful
hearing
people.
here?
We're talking about successful people.
Are they talking about building institutions and saving kids? No.
That if that's not what they're
I
experiencing,
don't care how old they are. Why aren't the OGs checking them then?
because they want to be, and that's the problem. That is
They
the
want a
problem.
piece of the money.
Right there, we just found the
What did
problem.
I just say? We are idol worshipers.
But we can't hold the kids accountable if no
I'm
one's
holding
guiding
the
them.
entire culture accountable for letting it go on.
Yes, we would have to
You
hold
see
it.
what I'm saying?
But that doesn't mean allowing the painting of the degeneracy to then say this represents hip hop. Because if that's
It is not hip hop primarily represented by gangster rap.
no.
Yes, it
No,
is.
I would disagree.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, no, it is. It is.
I would
Who your
disagree.
top 10 rappers of all time? Give
My
me your top
personal
five.
top,
Yours.
my personal top 5. It goes Jay-Z, it goes Rakim, it goes Andre 3000, Big, Kendrick.
Okay. 2 of those gangster, 2 of them not, and then 1 is kind of in the middle. You're still at 50% gangsterism. Is that acceptable?
Is it acceptable? Who's the gangster?
From the hood, bro.
Jay-Z was gangster shit.
But we've also seen him progress out of it.
Big,
You don't get to progress. You don't get to
Can I ask you a
progress.
question? Can I ask you a question?
Of
If I
course.
sold dope for 30 years,
Yeah.
and I gave it up, and now I'm raising my kids,
Yeah.
am I off the hook for creating a whole generation of drug addicts?
What have you done to amend for it?
What has he done to him in for it?
He's openly given money to underfunded communities.
Stop. How many schools has he built?
None.
Stop. How many hospitals has he built?
None.
Stop. How many banks has he built?
None.
How many supermarkets has he built?
None.
I don't care about nothing else you got to say. Relevant institutions,
In
bro.
that
Don't give me no
case-
handouts.
in
Don't give me
that-
no charity.
In that case, are you any less useful or
Absolutely, because I got 2
impactful to the
schools and
community?
1 about to open. You damn
But
right.
if no one
Relevant
can benefit from the school, what's the difference? As of right now, in this moment, if no one
Pop your shit, Umar.
could benefit from said
It's a
school,
big
then
difference
how is it
because even
different
though
from
the children can go to the school right now, you're talking to a man who saved more black children from the school to prison pipeline than any black man ever walk in this country. So I'm still relevant. How
And
many
you
he
would-
saved from the school to prison pipeline?
everyone he's employed?
And people who question him about this school, it irritates the fuck out of me. Because if you've ever tried to do any type of business in general, it takes some steps. So let alone a school, that's going to be for Black children, telling us real history and things like that. It's going to take time, especially in a country where we have the money to fund a campaign to get somebody in office where Black people come together, but not to build a culture or communities like he's saying. We don't say, okay, we need a quote unquote Black community in each neighborhood like we have Asian and everything else.
But
so
this
when they question him,
I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So when they question him about the school, it's just kind of like you're questioning somebody building something in a sense, but nobody is asking, how can we be involved to help this come together? It's always, oh, well, you do it. And it's in your opinion of questioning him, you're also making his point. Because now you talking about he should do something when y'all should be platforming him, asking how y'all can get involved. How can we rally people up to support him? Y'all do that with the fucking American president elect. I don't understand that part. Go ahead.
Nah, that's a fact. But I think the fact that how he's coming out is just making him an easy target. It's like you want people to forget about certain things when it comes to other artists, but they don't want to think about it when it comes to you. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, let him up.
Is he a Conti?
Yes, let him up.
How many people he employed? I bet you I say
from
more
Rock Nation to Rockefeller.
But my point is, to whom much is given, much is received. I'm not a billionaire. He's a billionaire. You understand? So to your point, you can't compare him to me because I'm not a billionaire.
Mm-hmm.
A billionaire gave out some charity. That's not enough. Billionaires should be building institutions, not giving out charity. And I like Jay. So this is not about Jay. We could talk about Tyler Perry. We could talk about Puff. We could talk about Serena. We could talk about Rihanna. We could talk about Tiger Woods, Bob Johnson. We could talk about any billionaire. We're just using Jay as the example. My point is, if you're a billionaire and you ain't built no institutions for Black people, what are you really doing?
That I'll give you. But I cannot.
And we can go bigger than that. We just sort of celebrated 50 years of hip hop. What has been the sum benefit to Black people of 50 years of hip hop?
Outside of economic advancement?
What was the economic advancement of Black America because of hip hop?
It's the biggest export. Everybody in the Black community.
I'm gonna ask you again.
Yes, sir.
How did Black America benefit from 50 years of hip hop? And don't give me individual rappers. That's called tokenism and bourgeoisie.
I won't give you tokenism. I will give you
benefited as a people from hip hop.
Advancements in fashion.
How? Fashion. That's
no, I can't let you have that. That one I can't let you have that.
You don't control fashion.
Anyone that's able to make money, any Black person that's able to make a living in an industry.
Bro, how many is that? The labels that I'm
it's way more now.
White people labels.
It's way more now than what was going on.
But that's not a real benefit.
I would disagree.
How is Black America benefiting from fashion? What are we talking about?
Any advancement in fashion for Black people.
How do we benefit from fashion, bro?
Those same companies just came out. What was the company that came out and they're boosting up their prices for bags by like thousands of dollars?
LVMH.
Yeah, that's not beneficial to Black people.
Yeah.
So you're missing what I'm saying. If hip hop, when hip hop comes, hip hop is an entire culture, our fashion, the way we walk, the way we talk.
How is that a benefit to Black America?
Because now people who didn't have access to jobs in the fashion, Black people specifically, who didn't have access to jobs before the explosion of hip hop, 50 years ago.
White companies that make billions of dollars.
Forget the white companies. I'm talking about Black-owned companies that have.
Who? How many?
Fubu, Carcanai.
I'm getting out of here.
What?
Who the fuck wearing Fubu and Carcanai?
You said it. You're moving the goalpost. You're moving the goalpost. You said in 50 years.
Oh, come on.
You said in 50 years.
You're reaching, bro. You're reaching.
That's not true, though.
That is a reach. What?
You said in 50 years.
50 years.
What has transpired?
This ninja went back to the late 80s.
No.
This is crazy.
No.
Yes, it is.
Yes,
but,
it is.
But it's not as obvious. It's not where it was before. But the advancement that those four men.
So 50 years, you had on a Fubu jacket and some Carcanai.
No,
and for the billions that hip hop make, I'm supposed to be content with that.
I didn't say be content. You asked a question. I offered you.
Horrible answer. Give me something. A horrible answer.
Who decides
horrible
war?
Answer.
Who decides war? Literally having a glider come out with H&M right now, and a Black person owns that line. A Black man.
You're bringing up individual people. That's tokenism.
I said the benefit. Thank you. The benefit to the community. There's always tokens. Barack Obama was president. Kamala Harris was vice president. Clarence Thomas is on the Supreme Court. Don't give me individuals. How did we win?
I gave you. How did we win? We're not going to win. Hip hop is still looked at and regarded as a trash dump amongst white people in that music industry. So no, if you're looking for me to say, oh, hip hop in 50 years has made sure that Black people now are respected, and no, that's not going to happen.
What has it done for the people?
It gave you listen to hip hop music and you were inspired at some point, no?
Nigga, I'm leaving.
We're moving. We're literally moving goalposts.
It ain't done shit in 50 years for the community. It made individuals rich, and that's it.
It then gave jobs to. It then gave jobs
They gave a couple jobs. The drug dealer giving out a couple jobs too.
But the drug dealer is the drug dealer. The drug dealer is essential to the black community in the ghetto. You can't tell me that somebody grew up in the hood.
Hip hop ain't done shit concretely beneficial to the black community. You gave me
incorrect.
fashion. The first thing out of your mouth was fashion.
I gave you fashion, and you started yelling over me. But then also, then there's technological advancement. Podcasting, for example. Look at all the black people that now have access to jobs and ways to make money due to that. We're still talking about rap. We're still talking about cinema. We're still talking about these camera operators, these new people coming up.
Let me make it real concrete for you.
I just made it concrete.
No, it wasn't. That was all bullshit.
No,
give me a relevant institution that hip hop built in any community, anywhere in America in 50 fucking years.
I just told you.
No, you didn't.
I just told you concrete. People that would not have.
I didn't say individuals. I said an institution.
I said people.
Where's the bank of hip hop for the black community?
The definition of the word people means not an individual. So I'm telling you, people that are now of 50 years ago would not have had access to work in
individualism. I ask you, what did they do for the community? You can't give me nothing because they ain't done.
People from the community can now work in a music industry that there was never going to be a space for them.
What the fuck? That's individualism. That ain't helping us. That's bullshit.
No.
Bull fucking shit.
No.
It's not helping us.
No. What's happening is virtual signaling. That's
bullshit.
Virtue signaling
ain't done shit. A few people could get jobs. Everybody can say that shit. Elon Musk got a couple black people on the payroll. That don't mean shit.
Elon Musk didn't come from black. He's not a black person.
My point is, you can get a job from anywhere, whether they black or not.
But now
That's
you're
not
getting a job.
benefit.
Now black
but
people.
You're still talking about individualism, bro. A few people. You've been around for 50 years, the most popular music genre in the world, billions and billions of dollars, and all you can tell me about is a few people can get jobs? That's bullshit when you look at the cost that the black community has had to pay for hip-hop. A whole generation, 2-3 generations of black kids growing up thinking the best thing you can do is be a damn gangster.
I mean, he closed the door. He dropped the mic with that shit. That's a fact. That's why I'm big on parents, because kids need to know what's good hip hop and what's not. But Umar's absolutely right. But the people that push us in the wrong direction is the ones we worship. Like when Jay-Z said, "What's better than one billionaire? Two." Niggas thought that was a bar. What's better than a billionaire is a thriving middle class and a thriving community of people. Like if somebody's a billionaire, that means mad people ain't got something. The world don't even need billionaires. We don't need billionaires. We barely need millionaires. We definitely don't need a billionaire. That means you're taking from mad people just to do what? And Umar's right, because with all the money that hip hop made, fuck the Book of Hov. Why isn't there a Jay-Z, Sean Carter school of business? Because obviously you have some type of business acumen, but the true story is a lot of these cats are not business savvy as you think. They sell the rights to their likeness and their name, and they get paid for people to use their names in certain ways, and you think they crazy business savvy. You know, I don't want to make it about Jay-Z, because you know I got a lot of feelings about mixed feelings with about Jay, but it's like, we don't need billionaires, but the fact that he's the face of black excellence, a man who's a billionaire, who's really, which means you're very greedy. The fact that he's the face of hip hop shows you that a lot of people don't know what's good hip hop and what's not. So Umar, he made some excellent points. He made some good points, but I still don't feel like you should throw the whole baby out with the bathwater.
Shout out to Leslie, Super Chat, stop the show. Thank you, Leslie, for your support. I think and this is for you, Leslie. Thank you.
But this rich bitch is poor.
Well, see, I think that's the overall thing. If it doesn't benefit as a whole, in the end, what is the benefit? But I don't think we should do away with it, because no other genre is bearing the brunt of their community and benefiting their community. You know what I'm saying? So why does our genre have to bear the brunt of something? Like, why can't we just say this is for what it's for? But I guess because our story is a lot specific, especially if you're talking about the fabric of hip hop and the fact that we can say other genres of music like jazz, country, pop, things that we probably are also influential in. Those aren't the ones that we go to when we on our way to the club, when we pregame and when we doing stuff. We turn on the other shit that get us in that energy. So I think when we talking about stuff, I would say, let's look at something like this. R. Kelly, his music didn't produce anything violent, but what he did in his life was definitely violent. You get what I'm saying? So it's like, if we just looking at things like as far as with the music produced, we can compare him to I think Jay-Z is a bad thing with all this new information coming out. I don't know who to say at this point. I'm just saying if we put them with another artist, as far as what their actions are, we mentioned Common. He has a good message, but based on his actions, he has not committed to one black woman. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I just think that's really specific.
That's a stretch. That's a stretch because we don't know the dynamics of relationships. So that's, to me, no disrespect, but that's irrelevant because people always talking about Erykah Badu. Where her man at? She got some sage, and she got some sage and some crystals, and all of a sudden she's a goddess, but she ain't got no man. She got multiple children with different men, and like, come on now. But
that's hip hop.
Your relationship, but I'm saying relationships is different because making it work is one thing, but ending amicably is something else. Me and you may not work out, but dude, that means we have to be enemies. There's a science to being together, and there's a science to being apart. The problem is it's either all or nothing with us. Either we love each other and get along, or we not together and we hate each other. When it don't have to be that way. You know what I'm saying? But Common's music from day one has always spoke truth to power. So,
I just got a personal thing with Common, but I guess he's cool.
You ever heard that song by Common called Black Maybe? Listen to that song. Called Black Maybe.
Well, have you ever heard Mozzie?
I've heard of Mozzie.
We not getting rid of.
We know you like that gangster shit.
I like Tupac when he was conscious and when he didn't have no sense.
Mozzie be trying to say some stuff though. It's some bright spots in hip hop. It's just not pushed because it's the message. It's the messaging. You know what I'm saying? But it's my last point. I feel Umar's fervor because he's like, yo, why don't y'all want to do this? As a rapper, as a black man coming from the inner city, why don't you feel that? Because everybody be like, well, no other genre do it. We got to stop comparing ourselves to other people. Stop comparing ourselves to white people. Stop comparing our music. We have a different plight. We have a different calling. Aren't we supposed to be God's people? So what other people do is irrelevant. If you know you come from the bottom, you know you seen niggas killed, you seen parents broken up, you should feel obligated to say some real shit. It shouldn't have to be pushed. You don't want to do it.
That's not what they want to buy. That's not what they want to buy. So I feel like the first responsibility is my family. You know, so I get that, but we are out of time.
You were bigger than that. But yeah, you're right. We out of time. We gonna.
This is a good. We might part two with some other things off of this. I feel like on this perspective, I would say I take the pro-American approach because when you take pro-black, it automatically kind of starts getting more context and we start dividing how we feel as black people. If we stuck on pro-American, guess how we was even with the audience, kind of on the same accord. You know what I'm saying? I think we should be entertaining more pro-American because then anything that works for us as pro-Americans, we are the real Americans.
And I'm glad you said that because this is the problem with Umar's argument because the Pan-African conversation separates us as if we're not home already. And that's my problem with it. We're not Africans. We're Americans. And I ain't talking about United States of America. We're the truest Americans. So it's like, that's my issue with his train of thought. It's like, it's not a one size fit all. It's a nuanced train of thought. When American is very encompassing because the truest American is these copper colored people you see on the screen right now. And that's a fact.
All right. Well, this was a good little stream. I do appreciate you guys for this chat on Labor Day. Hope you guys enjoy barbecue like we about to. And we're going to get out of here. We see y'all next week. Bye.
Peace and love, y'all.